Welcome back to the channel. In today's episode, I'm going to react to every single photo that I took on my 68-day Western Canada, 3-province-wide ultimate adventure van life road trip that I did last summer. If you're new here, I went on an ultimate adventure van life road trip last summer. I've actually gone 2 summers in a row, and now that travel inside of Canada is super hot right now, I feel like I have some insights to add that people might find interesting. So I figured the best way to do it is to break down every photo that I took. It's going to cover pretty much every one of the places I went to. And I made 22 videos from my last summer's trip in BC, Alberta, Saskatchewan. 22 videos, covers a lot of it. But some places I just went to, stopped through, drove through, all that stuff. So I only took a cell phone photo. And I took a lot of photos. So we're going to get through. There's going to be a lot of photos. This is going to be long. It's an unpolished trip through my memories. So with that being said, let's just start. I guess we'll start. So we'll start. Picture number 1. That is my van. I drive a 1998 GMC Safari van. And as you see, I got a canoe on the top and a bike on the back. Van handled well. I think this trip was like 6,000 K round trip. BC, Alberta, Saskatchewan. We'll talk more about it as we go. This is from my first campsite, and you can see my bike better. I got a bike on the back, canoe on the top, and I have so much stuff in the van. But this is actually one of my favorite campsites. It's sentimental to me. I go there pretty often, but it's last summer, or 2 summers ago now. This is the final campsite that I stayed at on my big trip. And then this was the one I started this trip with. And this trip was originally supposed to go starting in Jasper. But because that didn't happen the way I expected it to, I had to kind of last minute just figure something out. So I just went to this campsite to start my trip, gather my thoughts, make a video. Please watch those videos, like and subscribe. And yeah, it was a great little thing, and the van looks great. I washed it right before I went. That's another one. I'm on the riverside. It's the Similkameen River, if you care. If you look closely, you can see some Canadian geese across the river. This is a lantern. I am actually giving one of these away when I get to 2,000 subscribers, which I think is like 34 more subscribers, so please like and subscribe. Uninteresting. That's the same campsite. As you can see, actually, so this is leaving the campsite. There's smoke all in the air as I'm driving out of town. I was on just outside of like the range of the fire where you like, I don't know. I was just outside of the fire area that they have marked on Google Maps. And at this whole trip, you're going to see a lot of evidence of fire. I'm hiding from stupid. That was a Wells Gray sticker that my mom got me last year. This is the Bridge of Dreams in Princeton. It's a great stop as you head that way on Highway 3. That's a very uninteresting photo of my bug nets. You can see the mesh. I don't know why I took that photo. I don't know why I took this photo. I think maybe I was answering somebody's Facebook group questions on an Astrovan. But if you see there, actually, I got my bike there. I parked by the Bridge of Dreams, and we went on a big bike ride, which you'll see. Oh. There's a helicopter carrying a bucket of water, or a bucket that's going to be filled with water. Again, I'm now inside a forest fire zone. And this is the bridge. I rode my bike to this bridge. This is Kettle Valley Railway Bridge. And if you look, Mike was here. And if you see, only half of this bridge exists. The other side of the bridge washed out in like 2021, I think is when we had a huge flooding event. And it washed away half this bridge. So the Kettle Valley Railway, which is what I was riding on, is unpassable because the bridge is out. And if you see, trail's closed. And, oh, I'm not going to read those stickers. This is the KVR bridge. That's not a bridge. That is a tunnel. I rode to the tunnel from the bridge. So vandalism there. As above, so below. I think that... never mind. Don't breed quails for fighting. I like to take photos of just random graffiti. I don't really know the backstory of this statement. Nor do I know who sucks down in the corner here. Ooh, who sucks in the corner here? But I would like to know what the backstory is about these quails being bred for fighting. I will never know. This is a picture of me with my feet in the water. We'll zoom in on my feet for all you weirdos out there. Ooh, look at those toes. This is at Bromley Rock. Bromley Rock's a little campsite rest stop area on Highway 3. I think it's close. It's outside of Princeton, kind of close to Carameas. One of my favorite little pit stops to stop at. It's a pro tip for you. It gets really busy in the summer, and obviously this is summer. And I just swam there, kill some time. I don't have AC in the van, and as you'll see, actually, I know for a fact you'll see, it was very hot. This is me swimming, taking a selfie. I like selfies. You're gonna see more selfies in this range. But this area here, the river, it's like it widens out, and there's a good room for swimming, and pretty deep here. And obviously, the last photo, there's room for sitting. But a lot of people get tubes, and they float down from. I don't really know where they float down from. And then they float down the river and then get out at the campsite, maybe a little further down. I've never floated. I've only floated like this, as in swimming. But Bromley Rock, highly recommend if you're in that area. There you go. 38 degrees as per my van's thermometer. I do not know if that is accurate. But it was really hot. And I did not have AC. Ooh. That's some sort of bone from an unknown animal. And I think... Yeah. So I was at the beach here in Carameas for this. Carameas is... I really like Carameas. And I think these are probably a few photos here. Obviously the sun's setting. You can see the orangey because of the smoke. But you see all the mountains around Carameas. It's just a really interesting spot. It's like really hot. So actually, I'm driving to Osoyoos. It's where my parents live. And you go through Carameas, but Osoyoos is the desert, and Carameas is deserty too. But it's got mountains on both sides, or all three sides, or whatever, and just like really tall mountains. It's just a really interesting looking place. And compared to where I live in Abbotsford, BC, it's just a totally different environmental zone. We're on the west coast, the wet coast. Everything is green. It's just interesting going up to these places, seeing all the dry, seeing the mountains are just different. It's interesting. This Carameas, I think it's worth stopping. I remember getting I think it's Bo Boy's sandwich. It was like this huge sandwich. Not on this trip, but it's a huge sandwich. Highly recommend that place. I stopped at a little cafe there. I forget the name, but had a breakfast sandwich. It was good. I think I made a video on it one day. Playing some disc golf. They got a disc golf course here. There's my my sailfish driver. I lost that driver on this trip, but yeah, there's just a nice little course here in Carameas. I got recommended to play disc golf by one of my viewers. Thank you. And he was totally right. He said I should do it. And it's a great way to see some of these towns. It kind of gives you something to do. Gives you like a destination. It's like, oh, this little city has a disc golf course. I might as well go there, play some disc golf for an hour, grab some refreshments at the store, grab a sandwich like I was talking about. And highly recommend. This course is pretty open. I actually spoke to the guy. His name was Dion Eden, I think his name was. And he hosted an event that's like for accessible disc golf. And this course was very accessible. There's not a lot of up and downs. It is very flat. Not a lot of bushes. So if you're like me, you're going to throw your disc into the bushes. But this just has some tall trees. I think they're pine trees. And there's just not a lot of bushes. It's flat. So it's a good beginner course for everybody. All accessible. I recommend that little course. What is this? Resident unhappy over freewheeling golf carts. This is an article about my dad. My dad is, well, he's turning 69 this summer, and he is retired, and he has nothing better to do than get involved in local Soyuz politics. And he hates the people that use golf carts. I don't really know why. Well, I guess I sort of know why. I guess they're a little reckless. They're probably drinking wine and drive too fast, don't have insurance. And he complains so much, he got an article written about him in the paper. He might run for council. If he ran for the mayor of Soyuz, I think he would win. But I think he's scared to be the mayor, so I think he's going to run for council. Listen to the Soyuz sunset. You see the pretty colors. Soyuz is a nice little spot. My parents live there, so it gives me something to do. But back in the day as kids, we always went to, man, I can't remember the resort name, but a little campsite out there. We had uncles with boats, a boat, whatever. We'd go out on the lake, and it's always hot. Soyuz is hot. It's the desert. It's dry. But it's a great little summer place. Not that adventurous, but if you're in the area, go. Like, look at these sunsets. They're unbeatable little sunsets. I got a lot of photos of the sunset. Got some ducks. And you see the boats out there. A lot of boats on the lake. I haven't been on the lake boating in a long time, but that's a big reason people go to the Soyuz, is to, well, drink wine and go on their boats. Not necessarily at the same time. More duck photos. Oh, you can see my foot again. More ducks, sunset. Oh, here we go. This has been day 3, I think. I went to Myra Canyon. I started, at this point, after chilling at my parents' house, I started to get a better idea of what I was doing. Because the whole thing, this whole trip was delayed because of the Jasper fire. If you do not know, Jasper had a huge fire. And it started right at the beginning of this trip. So the highway was closed, which totally changed everything that I wanted to do. Because I was going to go up and around. But with Jasper being closed itself, plans changed. But the highway being closed just totally changed my whole direction of travel. So that's why I went to Soyuz. But I think at this point I started figuring out where I was going, which was Myra Canyon, which is another bit of the Kettle Valley Railway, which we saw earlier in the Princeton section. If you were to ride from there, from Princeton, all the way up to here, you could, on the Kettle Valley Railway. And Myra Canyon's famous for the train trestles. I think there's like, oh, what have we got? I think there's 13, 16, 18 trestles and 2 tunnels. And it's a nice little park. It's an easy ride. Well, it probably has a distance on here too. Maybe it doesn't have a distance. I think it's like 15 or 20K each way, but very flat and a very accessible ride on a bike. And again, a bike is a very good thing to take on your van life trip to see the place. But you could walk, but you don't get to see as much. And a very easy ride. But Kettle Valley Railway, bunch of trestles. They all kind of look the same but different. I was out looking at the valley. So there was a huge fire here in like 2002. I'm guessing on that. And you could see all these trees had like burned. And this is regrowth and stuff like that. And a bunch of these trestles had rebuilt. But it's such a treasured memory for people in the area. They had to rebuild it. And it's a great tourist destination. More trestles. This is some lasagna that my mom made me. So there's another benefit of starting a road trip at your parents' house. Fresh cooking. These are the solar panels that I added to my van. They're on magnets, so I stuck them on the side of the van here to catch the sun as it was falling this way. Those solar panels were a huge addition to my van, and I'm actually going to add a little more solar this year. But it was a great addition. And I actually spent the night here in this parking lot. You can see my setup. It is my van, and I had a chair. And then I just sat in this parking lot. It wasn't really the plan, but it's like I was going to get out. I was going to drive another hour up the road. But then you're sitting in the parking lot. You're like, I might as well just sit here, be comfortable, and I'll just drive further tomorrow. And I actually met a guy from Germany in this parking lot. He was up there in a Jeep. He had rented a Jeep with a rooftop tent, and he was in Canada for 3 weeks, I think, maybe a whole month. And he was doing exactly what I was doing, except he was not living the van life. He was living the rooftop tent on a Jeep life. And he was camped just to the left of this photo. And we just chatted the whole night. But he had flown in from Germany, landed in Calgary, rented a Jeep, drove straight to Jasper. And then as soon as he got to Jasper, the Jasper fire started, which I think was a lightning-caused fire, not 100% sure. And then the fire just started spreading like crazy. And this is not a shot at him, but he got scared. And he was like, I'm just going to get out of here. And then like 10 minutes after he said he left, they evacuated the whole town. But that was his first memory of Canada, was going to Jasper, getting evacuated with a huge forest fire, which is, I don't know. I don't know how to say that. Kind of a fun memory, but terrible at the same time. This is a photo of my dash for no reason. Oh, here we go. So this is the statue in Clearwater. I went up to Clearwater, BC. Going to a Soyuz through Myra Canyon to Clearwater, not a direct route. And it was like, I don't want to say it's a waste of time. I visited my parents, spent a few days out there. But definitely should have driven from my house straight to Clearwater. But in the town, this is pretty much the whole town. There's like 3 gas stations. There's not a lot to... No, hold on. I'm wrong here. This is not Clearwater. This is Blue River. There's not a lot to Blue River. But there's this statue of 2 bears fighting right in town. And I thought it was awesome. And this is where I camped in Blue River. I can't remember the name of this lake, but I just found it on Google Maps. It was a wreck site. It wasn't the best campsite, but because I'm one person in the van, it was totally fine. But you like come through the forest. It's like 4 or 5K up or down a Forest Service Road, and then you come out to this lake, which obviously you can see the nice views. And I wonder if there's a photo here. But yeah, this is looking every way. But it just kind of came to the lake. There was no like big open beach, no open campsite area. It was just kind of like the road ended at the lake, which was fine for my setup, but like it wasn't the best campsite in general, but I enjoyed it for what I was using. This is a pretty flower with a bee on it. Always stop and smell the flowers. A couple photos of that. Some more of the lake. But yeah, pretty epic. You can see all the mountains on the reflection. And this was straight up, I randomly found this spot getting on Google Maps once I got to town. I had no idea it existed. And that's why I don't remember the name of it. But just beautiful little spot. Yeah. Like, look at that. That's awesome. Yeah, straight Google Maps, Blue River. I had no idea what to expect. I just drove there to get to Murtle Lake. Bunch of photos, all the same. You can see the water's not the clearest of waters, but it's actually a river that blows out to a lake. So there's a lot of sediment in the water. So I said I was going to Murtle Lake. This is the start of my Murtle Lake photos. Campsite closed due to wildfire. Campsite 13, 14, 15 were closed due to fire. I showed up at Murtle Lake with an idea of what I was doing, but I did not do any research. Again, this whole trip was changed, so it's kind of an idea on the fly. But Murtle Lake is the largest paddle-only lake in North America, I believe is what it is. And I've wanted to canoe there for a while, so I'm like, screw it, I'm going up there. And I did no research, but there was a fire, an active fire on Murtle Lake while I was there that I had no idea. This is literally the first indication that there was something going on, and I did not take this seriously. I just thought there was damage because of a fire when I read this sign, but that was an incorrect assumption, so do your research. We'll get more into that story as we go. This is the portage down to Murtle Lake. You have a portage. I think it's 2.5 kilometers. Pretty easy portage as far as portages go. It was easier going down than coming back out, but it was pretty tame. I got a canoe cart, totally good. And then this is my first view of Murtle Lake. I don't know. Yeah. I don't know when I started taking photos, so I might be on the lake at this point. But as you see, beautiful spot. And it's a huge lake. Huge lake. It really is. It's the largest paddle-only lake in North America. You can see the water, very clear. And then you see how clear it is. There's like no indication that there was a fire in the area. So at this point in time, totally oblivious to the fact that I was in danger. Oh. Yeah. Pretty much all the same photos, similar photos. You can see here the water got shallow. I think like at least 3 or 4 times on this trip I had to get out of the canoe to drag my boat over shallow, sandy water. And if you ever go there, be careful. It doesn't really matter. I just had to get out and drag the canoe. But walk the dog is what I like to say. But, yeah, interesting. I wonder if this is my campsite. I think this is from the campsite. But you can, well, I'll go back. You can see the sandy beaches. There's quite a few sandy beaches. This is my campsite. It's campsite number 1. I think it was called Tropicana. Sandy beaches. You can see it's getting later in the day. Are those ducks? No, it's a stick. Yeah, here we go. Sandy beach. This is like a huge sandy beach. Kind of like goes all the way around. And I think if you look, that was my campsite partner's thing. And you see they got a fishing rod. I do not fish, but my camping partners, people I met at the campsite, they were fishing, and I camped there with them 2 days. They were eating fish every night, and I was eating out of a bag. Those, their peak refuel freeze-dried meals. That's what I ate the whole time. And that's because I was prepared for everything, but at that same point, I'm not really prepared for what I was doing. And if I knew what I was doing, I probably would have planned better to have better meals. But instead, I was eating out of a bag. They were eating fresh fish every night with potatoes and garlic and onion and stuff. And I did kind of feel foolish eating out of a bag. But yeah, beautiful spot. There's a sun setting. Yeah, this is campsite. I can't remember the number, but it's called the Tropicana. I think my partners or campsite friends called it Tropicanada, which I thought was kind of nice. Yeah, sun setting. There's my canoe. Those were, that Canadian flag sticker was new for this trip. I think this is the morning out looking out the water. You can see a little island out there. I think there's a camping on that island. I did not camp on the island. I didn't even go to the island, to be honest with you. This is getting closer to the end of the lake. Still, you really can't see that there's a fire in the area at this point. And this is from campsite number 2. This is straight up my view from the site. There are these 2 logs, and that was my view looking up on the west end of the lake. And yeah, I shared the campsite. The campsite people I met the first night, I think their name was Aaron and Orrin. They made sure they saved that spot for me. It's always good to meet friends. They will look out for you, even if you don't really know them. Yeah, there's more pictures. They're all kind of the same. All from this lake. Oh, you see my solar panel out here. Solar panel on the canoe. Always keep your batteries charged. All kind of the same. Oh, you can look at my feet again. Oh, what is that? I was just trying to zoom in my feet. Anyways, there's my toes again. But yeah, beautiful little spot. Nice sunsets both nights that I was out here. I was out here for 4 nights, so we'll get into that further. But yeah, beautiful spot. This beach wasn't quite as sandy as the first one. It looked sandy from afar, but as you get closer, not quite sandy. But yeah, beautiful sunsets. You know, this is why I like canoeing. you're out there. There's 2 people in the campsite with me, Aaron and Orrin. And other than that, you're just by yourself on a huge lake. Sunsets, just epic. Well, you can see the moon out there. Yeah, these are all going to be kind of the same. Well, so this would be in the morning. Those are some ducks. Probably swimming right off the campsite, but maybe I'd already started moving there. And this is where we started seeing some of the smoke. This is my first sign that there was something going on. And we'll get closer. But you can see the smoke up on the hillside. And actually, if you look, you can kind of see that the hillside had burned quite a bit. If we get up in here, you can see all this burn up there. There you go. There's going to be more smoke, more smoke. And this right here, I was at the first campsite that was closed. I think it was 13, 14, 15 were closed. This was from the first closed campsite, I think. And then you could see the smoke out on the lake. Again, I stopped here to have a snack and go pee. And that's pretty much it. Maybe look around a little bit. And then I just got moving again after I took these photos. And this is now heading up to the North Arm. I'll say before I headed up to the North Arm, Aaron and Orrin, my campsite mates, they asked if they could pray for me before I left. And I'm not a religious guy. Like, do what you want to do. I just don't. But they asked if they could pray. But it's like, yeah, do whatever you want. But I think they knew I was about to do something stupid. And I was totally oblivious to it at this point in time. And, yeah. It was probably a good thing they prayed for me. Yeah, you can see the smoke rising a little bit more. Just a hot spot. But you can see the burn. Let's burn more over here. Less over here. And then now it's just like a tree up there burning. Quite a few. I take a lot of the same photo repeatedly. Oh, so this is the campsite. Yeah, so this is as I was going by. After this picture and before this picture, I did not take any photos because this is where everything got sketchy. So as I was coming up past this campsite, the 3 closed campsites are the only campsites on this end of the lake. And it got real windy. As soon as I passed the last campsite, all of a sudden the wind picked up and it was kind of sketchy. So I pulled over. No, I guess I pulled over after the last campsite. It was just like a beach that I pulled over onto. But it was literally like it was on the beach was fine. But if you look back this way, there is like a whole bunch of smoke rising from the bushes. And if you walked off the beach, there's like a layer of trees. And then there was like a little bit after that, like it had burned all in there. And the fire, it wasn't like this raging fire. But like there's areas that were smoldering, like not far from my beach. So then it was like, I had that weird moment of like, what do I do? Do you stay on this side that's on fire? Or do you risk it and cross this lake, the biggest paddle-only lake in North America, while it's windy? And I don't really know what's going on with the weather, other than it was windy. So I decided it was better to go. It wasn't crazy windy, it was just windy and pretty wavy, but I'm an experienced paddler. Had life jacket on, but I am traveling solo, so it's a little sketchy. But I get out, and then I'm like straight up in the middle of the lake, and then there's like cracks of thunder going, and it's like, oh man, this is sketchy. And it was sketchy, but not super sketch. But you just paddled as hard as you can, got to the other side of the lake, and once you're on the other side of the lake, no more fire. And this was my view of the campsite. And it looks really nice here. So I think this is post-wind. And I actually, when I was sitting at this campsite, I sat there for probably 3-4 hours. And then by myself. And then 2 girls came up probably at like 8:30 in the evening or something like that. And they had got blown off the lake due to wind coming up the other side, like the non-fire side. And Yeah, they had to be off the lake for like 3-4 hours before they could get back on and paddle up to where we were, and they met me at the campsite just to well, they were camping on their own, but it was properly windy. People got off the lake, and I know for a fact there's a photo that I'll show you later that I'll talk more about my poor planning. It'll make sense later, but yeah, this is the same fire, but from the other side, and I think if we get closer, yeah, you can see. So I'm just sitting on the other side of the lake from this fire. Totally safe, but I'm in distance that you can see the flames going up from the fire. And it's just small little, like, one tree at a time burning. And it was just, there you go, there's 2 trees at a time burning. But it's just kind of wild because you're, like I say, you're on the other side of the lake, so you're safe. But it's like you're just sitting there by yourself looking at a forest that's on fire. It is a weird feeling. I'll be totally honest with you. Definitely a weird feeling. And I can't remember at this point. I know when you were paddling up the side, you could hear like the crackle of the fire from the canoe, but I can't remember if when I was camping, you could hear the fire crackling or if it's too far away, but you could definitely see it. And it was, yeah, unnerving, just interesting vibes. But yeah, here's back on the lake. I wanted to go all the way to the north end of the lake. And frankly, I'm going to go to the north end of the lake this year unless my plans change. But I couldn't go because once this fire situation happened, I was just kind of over it. And I didn't really have enough supplies to go all the way up and spend an extra night. I kind of did, but that would be like, I would have no extra supplies. And on a trip like this, I like to have I like to come home with an extra day's worth of food, just in case you really get blown off the lake and have to stay. So I just decided it wasn't worth it. So I started going back. So this is my final day. And you can see, yeah, just a beautiful spot. If you're into paddling, I would definitely worth it. There's a nice selfie looking cool in my canoe hat. This is a canoe cart lockup. I did not know that this existed before I left, or I could have left my cart, but I paddled with my cart the whole time. And then I've already seen some of these photos because I went through it and organized. But attention, closures due to fire. Oh, and the hikes were closed too. And then it tells you what to do or whatever. Camping, blah, blah, blah. This is the one. Useful tips. Do not attempt crossings midday. If you have to cross before 10 a.m. I did not read this board before I left. And that was a mistake. Because every time I crossed the lake was middle of the day. And it literally tells you not to do it. And at about noon or 1 p.m., the wind kicks up every day. Yeah, the wind kicks up every day at about 1. And then, well, later in this trip, I was in Blue River, which is, you go to Blue River, you drive about 30K out of Blue River up of Mountain Road to Murtle Lake. But when you're in Blue River, every day, I stayed there for like 3 days after. And every day there was thunder and lightning in the afternoon. So I feel like this whole area, every day around midday, you should expect wind, thunder, and potentially lightning. That's probably why the fire started to start with. So if you are going to go there, read the warnings and do not cross in the middle of the day. Obviously, I'm fine. But I did put myself into a dangerous situation, totally unnecessarily, by crossing at midday. And I kind of regret doing it. One of the things with these trips when you're going solo, risk mitigation is like kind of a huge deal. Don't do anything stupid. And I did something stupid. But that is my lack of preparedness because I was kind of winging it on at least the beginning part of this trip. I just kind of was winging it. And that is not always the best way to go. Anyways, what are these? Don't hike far from your camp, blah, blah, blah. Don't assume you will be rescued when in trouble. That's, a good thing to know. There's my van again. This is in Blue River. So I stayed in Blue River for a few days after. And there's a picture of a train, more train. This is the lake in Blue River. I think it's called Eleanor Lake, actually, which is a nice little spot. Actually, let's go back here. If I zoom in here, you can see some of these houses with the red roofs. There's some really nice houses on this. And I think it's a resort that they do heli skiing trips out of. Mike Wiggle or something like that. Heli skiing, but there's some nice resorts on this lake. But this lake was sort of my base camp for a few days. And the train, when you're in Blue River, the train, I shouldn't say when you're in Blue River, when you're at Eleanor Lake in Blue River, the train is always there. It comes so many times and it dings the crossing, and then it's always moving. It blocks the road all the time, and it's kind of annoying. It's pretty annoying because you're just like, I was like eating in the park. I'm homeless, right? You're living in a van, you're homeless, so you're in the park all the time, and it is constantly trains coming, the thing beeping at you or whatever, dinging at you. It's kind of annoying. You don't have any peace and quiet. This is the shower at Eleanor Lake. It is kind of disgusting, but showers aren't easy to come by when you're living the van life. And this shower is actually ice cold. There was no warm water, which was a bummer, but showers are showers. Yeah, so this is the train crossing. They just stop across the tracks, and that dings at you. This doesn't have audio, but the whole time it's bing, 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 bing. It's crazy. I think this is Valemont now. It's an iced chai latte. Yeah. And there's my shock is broken. So after I got out of off Murtle Lake, went to Blue River, hanging out. There is not a lot in Blue River. So I ate like a bag of chips the night before, like the day I got off. But I had to go to Valemont to get supplies. So I actually originally had planned to stay in Valemont, but the day I got off of the lake, my mom actually texted me in a panic. She's like, "You're not in Valemont, are you? There's a fire." So I was not in Valemont. I was in Blue River, but I had to go to Valemont. So I went up to Valemont, and then I went to the grocery store, bought some supplies. And then I asked like the till lady, had no idea if there was a fire or not. And then I asked some other people, and they were kind of unsure if what the evacuation situation was. So I was like, you know what, I'm going to go back to Blue River. And then when I get back to Blue River, I realized that my shock had broken on the drive, either to drive to Myrtle Lake or in Valemont. But there's no supplies in Valemont or in Blue River. I might have had a chance in Valemont, but it was a Sunday. But I didn't really realize until I got back to Blue River and my shock was broken. That's that. It's part of the drive. Nice drive. You see the mountains? I think it's like the beginning of the Rocky Mountains. Nice little place. More trains. More trains. Oh, there's coal. Coal trains. Caution, swimmer's itch may be present during the summer. That was Eleanor Lake. I did not swim. I did not want swimmer itch. Too hot to handle, too cold to hold. This is some graffiti. Again, I like to take graffiti pictures. And this is some same artist, I think. And I think if we go, maybe we don't. There's the name of the artist is like Alfredo. I think it's Alfredo. A-L freight, as in freight train. O. And I actually learned after I posted these pictures on my Instagram story. Follow me on Instagram at Sarjink. And I guess Alfredo is like a well-known, I think a graffiti artist slash train hopper. And I guess he goes all on trains all over the place. And then he marks his places he's been. And that's why there's pasta in this one. Now it's all graffitied up. Graffitied up. Oh, there's a little octopus. Okay, computer. No. I think it's interesting. It's fun seeing, what does that say? I don't know. It's interesting seeing what people do to trains. There you go, Alfredo. But there's all sorts of graffiti and just interesting, you know. And it's definitely a railway town. So Alfredo probably used those same showers at Eleanor Lake that I did. Eleanor Lake, speak of the devil. It's a nice little lake. Like, it does say swimmer's itch, but, you know, nice little dock. And you can see in the background there's a nice house. Some of these houses were pretty nice on the lake, but not much of a town, to be honest with you. I got the canoe out. I thought if I stayed at Eleanor Lake for a few days, I had better canoe Eleanor Lake, so I did. Definitely worth stopping for the day. Some lily pads on the lake. I do not. Oh, there you go. Whoop. You can see some of the red roofs in behind these bushes. And I think that's the Mike Wiggle helicopter resort. Because I guess, I've not done any research. I think all up in these mountains is where they go heli skiing in the winter. I do not know if they do heli skiing in the summer or heli hiking. But I think Blue River is like I guess it's a big deal, is what I understand. I do not ski or snowboard, so I don't know, let alone go in a helicopter. This is the Grizzly Food Shack. I ate at the Grizzly Food Shack. What did I have? I had a breakfast poutine before I went to Murtle Lake, and then I had a burger. The burger was good, but it had I'm gonna sound like a fatso, but it had too many vegetables on it. It had like a big old hunk of cucumber, tomatoes, like a whole bunch of lettuce and stuff. I prefer like a regular type of burger, but it was good, and my breakfast poutine was good. Although I did let it get cold because I ended up talking to a guy that was sitting outside. He was a guy that was evacuated from Jasper, and I was interesting to hear his story, so I just hung out there for a while. What does this say? Show up drunk. Again, a lot of pictures of trains here. This is my workstation in the park. Yeah, so I was sitting in this park, and yeah, you hear lightning in the park, and then that's when you realize, like, oh, every day there's thunder and lightning, and I shouldn't have been on the lake. So I had a picture of my dash for no reason. Aspen Auto Parts Plus. This is where I got my bolt. This is Clearwater, BC. This is where I got my bolt to fix my shock. There you go. There's the bolt. OF. Everything's got an OnlyFans these days. And this is the proper bolt. It has 10.9. Like, this is the proper grade, proper size, all that stuff. I was a little bit concerned I was going to kind of have to hack my shock together to get through the trip, but I ended up having the totally right size bolt, so got it all fixed up. And if you see, this is where I fixed it. This is in Clearwater. There's a little, I guess it's a park right next to the river, and it's a nice little spot, I believe. No, this is not. This is the Thompson River. In Clearwater, the Thompson River and the Clearwater River meet, but I believe this is the Thompson River because if you look, that water is not clear. The Clearwater River is clear. So when you see them meet, I have drone footage from the previous year. But where they meet, you got Clearwater, and then you got the dirty Thompson water, and then they meet in Clearwater. Nice little spot. Yeah, this is where I fixed it. Again, oh, you can see a little, I don't know what that's called. Nice little spot. Pyramid Mountain Trail. So from Clearwater is like the gateway to Wellsgrey. And then I actually ended up meeting my buddies in Wellsgrey. Before they got there, I hiked the Pyramid Mountain Trail from Pyramid Campsite, which is one of the campsites up there. So I think there'll be some pictures from the hike here. I think this is called Cougar Lake. This hike was okay, is what I'll say. Like, obviously, you can see the photo and you can judge for yourself. If they're nice views. I don't want to complain. But I've seen better views. And up in Wellsgrey, there's other things to do in Wellsgrey. Like Wellsgrey, I think I have some pictures of some of the waterfalls. Some super spectacular waterfalls and cool places. And then this hike was just kind of nice, which is fine. But like, I think you hike like 5K through the forest, and then you get a decent view at the top. And as you're hiking up, like, you can see the lake. I think you kind of switch back up and you see the lake most of the way. But it's okay. Not a must-do hike. But I think Wellsgrey, if you're in BC, you should go to Wellsgrey. It's definitely worth it, even if you just go up there for the day. Go up there, take a shirtless selfie. I remember taking this selfie. I swear, this was really hot. I was so soaked from the hike uphill. Yeah, it was a nice little hike though. It was good. Some more pictures of Cougar Lake. This is some trees that look like an A. I think this is called Moule Falls, Moul. This is one of the falls you can get to in Wellsgrey. And if you look, you can see the people behind it. You can walk along the trail, and then you can get right in behind this falls. So it's like really accessible. You can see some people down here. Well, maybe you can't. I might have my picture here. But there's people down here, and then you walk along this trail, and then you go all the way behind it, up over here. And I met a group of people from Luxembourg on this trip. They got to take a selfie, which that'll probably be coming. But yeah, nice little falls. Definitely worth the hike. This is the selfie. I got the people from Luxembourg. When you ask somebody where they're from, first of all, a lot of places, like in Wellsgrey, a lot of people are not from Canada. So just because someone might look like they're from Canada, it doesn't mean they speak good English. They might be from a European country that does not have English as a first language. I do not know what they speak in Luxembourg, but I did sound like an idiot when I was talking to these people. And then when they told me they were from Luxembourg, I was like, what is Luxembourg? Is that a city? Is that a country? And honestly, I still don't really know. Yeah, more selfies. That's not a selfie. That was taken. That's Moule Falls. I think the hike down to Moule Falls was like 3K. I was undecided if I was going to go because I was trying to get to music in the park in Clearwater. But it was definitely worth it. It's more of an adventurous hike compared to some of the other waterfalls. And but it's worth it, especially if you are the adventurous type. Like, I wouldn't want to take my mom there, but I would take my friends there. If I was taking my mom, I would stick to Helmkin and whatever. Spahats? I think that's the other name. This is the bathroom in Clearwater at, I don't know, I think it's called the Dutch Lake Resort or Dutch Lake Park. I don't even know, but it was a very uninviting shower, and I actually did not shower there. What is this? Backcountry Bowls. This is a vegan. I think it's vegan, or I think they described it as plant-based food truck. And I got a breakfast bowl with I think it had like fake chorizo and eggs, but I don't know. Maybe it's not vegan, or maybe those are fake eggs. Can't remember, but I had like rice. It's not really my style, but if you're in Wellsgrey and there's a plant-based food truck, that's what you got to do. You got to eat at the plant-based food truck. This is Spahats Falls. So if you look closely, you can see all the logs coming through, the jammed up. Well, this is a cool waterfall, and Wellsgrey is known for the waterfalls, and definitely worth stopping. That's Spahats. It just comes through this crazy huge wall of, I'm gonna say granite. I don't really know, but just a huge wall, and it's a really tall waterfall, as you can see. But just a cool little spot, and these are only like 5 minutes or less from the parking lots. This is Dawson Falls. This is probably I don't know. This is one of my more favorite of the. There's like 3 main falls on the tour. You got Helmkin, Spahats, and Dawson. Dawson, you have to walk a little bit more on a trail, which is kind of nice. Like Helmkin is right off the parking lot. This is like a little bit more of like a walk through the forest. Not a lot though. But just like the width of it and like it was cool. That's Dawson Falls. Definitely worth going to that one. Dawson. This is the other angle. It does not look spectacular from this angle. And this is Helmkin. This is the granddaddy. This is like the biggest one in Wellsgrey. This is the one that's everyone knows Helmkin Falls. It's on the postcards, all that stuff. If you go to Wellsgrey, you have to see Helmkin. Yeah. It's the same kind of thing as Spahats. It comes through like the big rock walls. But yeah, it's awesome. Quite a few of these. This is my buddy Dustin. Yeah, so all these pictures of these waterfalls in not the pyramid one, not Pyramid Camp or Moole Falls, but the next day is when we saw those Spahats, Helmkin, and Dawson Falls. I got my buddy Dustin and my buddy Kyle to come up and check it out with me. And they're not really campers. There's a video of Dustin. I don't have audio on, but I think he says he farted in his tent. That's why his head is out. But I went there the year before, and I liked it so much. I thought it was perfect for them. And they're like kind of beginner campers, so it's like a good happy medium from someone that's kind of adventurous to then them being a little light on the adventure. It's like perfect happy medium. So I kind of recommend Wellsgrey to everybody. And there's Kyle right there and Dustin. This is on Clearwater Lake. I canoed all of Clearwater Lake the year before, Clearwater and Azure Lake, but I just got him out to canoe on Clearwater for the day. I originally had planned to go to Slocan Lake with them, but that was another thing that caught on fire to start the summer. So we had to change plans, and they ended up meeting me up in Clearwater instead. But it was a good day, paddle out here. I remember I had a canoe, so I had all the stuff in my canoe, and then they had their kayaks. And I'm better at canoeing than they are kayaking. So I had all the gear in my canoe. And then at some point, we were like getting close to the shore, but we were going so slow, in my opinion. And then Kyle's like, hey, I want to have a snack. It's like, oh, dude, we're so close to the shore. And I wouldn't let him have a snack. And then I paddled all the way to shore, and it ended up taking like 25 minutes, half hour. And then and when he got to the shore, he was like all tired and stuff. And I was like, man, I can't believe I didn't let you have a snack. We're 37-year-old adult men, and I wouldn't let him have a snack because I was in a hurry just to get to shore. And I still to this day feel bad about it. But, carry your own food. Yeah, it's Clearwater Lake. It all looks nice. You can sort of see some haze up in the air. I think there's fire up somewhere in the area. It's a blurry picture. That's kayaks. It's a blurry picture of a motorcycle. I don't know why I took that. Well, here's a frog, or maybe a toad or something. I don't know anything about it, but I've seen it in the dark. Same frog. This is a picture from the bathroom of what looks like a face. I think it's a stomp down mask. Anyways, 2 eyes, a mouth, and you can just see the face. Not everything I take photos of is exciting. This is Dustin in a golf cart. So me, Dustin, and Kyle historically have all played frisbee. Like we toss a frisbee around for fun. And then when I got told I should play disc golf, I was like, you're totally right. And then I bought disc golf stuff. And then I told Dustin and Kyle that I bought disc golf stuff. And they're like, yeah, why don't we play disc golf too? So that was a big part of this trip. I wanted to show them the waterfalls. And then we went and played disc golf. And this course was actually on a regular golf course. So we rented golf carts. And Kyle hooked us up. He rented the golf carts for us. And then we played disc golf on on golf carts. It was pretty cool because it felt like real golf. But Dustin here, there's him looking jacked. When he was driving in his golf cart, I like Dustin, but Dustin is incredibly annoying. His golf cart had like a backfiring issue, which I think could have been mitigated with like some gentle pressing of the pedal. But it's like if he wants to go, he's going, and he just full on gas. And then it was like backfire, so it's like popping. So we're on a golf course playing disc golf, which I assume regular golfers not interested in disc golfers. And then Dustin's driving around his cart like an idiot, making it backfire, and he's like doing U-turns in front of golfers, and it was like the most cringiest thing. And he was just so oblivious to the fact that he was showing no etiquette at all. Yeah. It was a cool golf course, though. And I think they hosted like a national championship. Because if you look down here, it says Nationals 2020, Clearwater, BC. So I think they hosted the Nationals in 2020. But it was a cool little course. Compared to the one I showed you earlier in Karamias. Just a way bigger course. More disc golf. I don't think this is from the course. I think this is where I camped in... I think this is Valemont. I think I went up to Valemont. Yeah, this is the parking lot I slept in Valemont after leaving Clearwater. And then actually... Well, here's the cinnamon bun. I don't know where I bought this cinnamon bun, but I'm pretty sure that was a really good cinnamon bun. And I think I got it like either in Valemont or Clearwater, but that was a good cinnamon bun. So good that I was going to say so good I'd take a photo of it, but I have not eaten it yet. And then this is, what lake is this thing called? Kinbasset Lake. I went here to go canoeing. And I was going to canoe for like a couple days on it. It's a huge lake. But then when I got there, it was super windy. And I realized that I couldn't go canoeing. So I just sat on the beach all day. And I was really bummed out at this point in time. Because this whole trip, I had this grand plan of what I was going to do on this trip. But then it was like the fall start at the beginning. And then it was just slow going. I had to wait for my friends, all that stuff. And then I get here to like finally do something really exciting. And then it's like, oh, I can't. It's too windy. Not worth it. It was a bummer. But beautiful little spot. I don't know much about Kinbasset, but the year before when I canoed Revelstoke Lake, the park ranger that I befriended, he was telling me some like horror stories about Kinbasset and the crazy weather that it can experience. So when it was windy, I had these like thoughts of what he had told me in my head, which held me back even more. But yeah, beautiful little spot here. Yeah, just epic mountains. There's me in a Revel Smoke hat, taking selfies like a grown man. And then this is a forest fire. So I said my mom warned me about a fire that was in Valemont. This would have been that fire. And it blocked. So as I went to Kinbasset Lake, there's one road in, one road out. And that road, there's a fire right on the side of the road. So I drove right past it. And I was parked on the side of the road and I walked in to see it. And it was just like, yeah, roadside fire. Really interesting. It's the first time I'd ever been so close to a fire. And you could just feel underground. Like the whole ground feels different than the soil, the dirt, whatever. Because it's like ash and like weirdly crunchy. And this was that fire that changed my plan originally. It was a cool is a weird word. Interesting little moment, to, just to see a fire. This was like right next to somebody's house. Their house was unscathed, but it was like, it just makes you realize how close and how much this can affect people. And then obviously this trip had already been changed by fire, so it's kind of interesting to just see it this close and personal. But yeah, all these burned trees, but so you can see there's green trees in there behind. It was contained. Yeah, burned trees, burned logs. And then, yeah, you can see how some of these trees are all like uprooted and stuff like that. A bunch of them. Burned logs, burned trees. Burned. There's some pine cones. I think when pine cones burn, they open up and then the seeds fall. And then new trees get start to grow. Yeah. And then you can see some fire retardant here. All on one side. So I guess like the planes drop the fire retardant as they're moving. So it covers the one side of the tree. I think there, yeah, you can just really see. There's one side of the tree gets covered. And then that's it. This is the other side of the road than the pictures previously. Yeah, fire retardant on the one. Yeah, just one side of the tree gets covered. And it's right next to a junkyard where there's fire retardant. And this was a chai latte that I got in Valemount. I don't remember the name of the cafe, but that was good. And I think I had a breakfast there, but I didn't take a photo of it, so maybe I did not. And this is a Fun in the Sun cake pack. Earlier in the trip, when I was hanging out with Dustin, he was talking about these cakes that were really expensive at the gas station, and he didn't know what they were, nor why they were so expensive. But then I went to maybe the same gas station, I don't know, or a different one. But then I saw these $59 cakes, and I realized that they were fireworks. I did not buy them. And then this is Rear Guard Falls. I think there's going to be quite a few photos here. Yeah, this is Rear Guard Falls. So this is the Fraser River. And as I said, I'm from Abbotsford, BC, which is right along the Fraser River. I live in the Fraser Valley. And then this is like the headwaters of the Fraser River. And Rear Guard Falls is about as high as the salmon go up. So salmon, if you don't know, salmon, they're born in streams, tributaries, go out to the ocean, live their life, and then they come back up to where they were originally born to spawn. But about as high as they get is to Rear Guard Falls. And I think there's a sign that I have a photo of, but it says like only the strongest ones make it this far. But as somebody that lives in the Fraser Valley on the Fraser River, it is a cool spot to get up to. And this is just a little roadside stop. Maybe a 5-10 minute walk from the parking lot, and it's right on the side of the highway in Tête Jaune, I think it's called. Tête Le Jaune, I forget. Yeah, nice little spot. It's crazy seeing the color of the Fraser River compared to down here because it's so gray, or not gray. It's brown and muddy down here because the Fraser works its way from where it's very clear and beautiful up here, and then picks up all the settlement, and then it drops it off where I live. That's why it's a farming town. And as you see, there's a little platform here. There's a big viewing platform down at the bottom. It's all like developed here. A nice little spot. It's definitely worth stopping if you're in the area. Take some photos. Yeah. I did not see any salmon spawning. And I think if you time it right, you'll see a bunch of salmon spawning. I think that's like late September. And this would have been early August that I would have been there. Maybe like the 20th of August at the latest. Yeah, here we go. These falls mark the upper limit of the 800-mile migration of salmon. I don't know why they wrote that in miles, not kilometers. From the Pacific Ocean, only a few Chinook, the largest and strongest of the salmon, come this far. Look for them in late summer. I was not late enough. This is Mount Robson. Mount Robson is the highest peak in the Canadian Rockies, I think is what it is. The highest peak in the Canadian Rockies. Obviously, you can't see the peak here because it's obscured by clouds. But you'll just have to trust me, the peak is there. But this is like pretty typical for what you'll see. It reaches up in the clouds, And because it's so tall, it kind of like I think it stirs up the cloud, makes its own clouds. I don't know if that's technically correct, but the top is always obscured. But Mount Robson is definitely a place you should stop if you're driving out here. This is information on the Berg Lake Trail. I've wanted to hike the Berg Lake Trail since 2006, and then I lost interest in hiking, and then I got too fat and out of shape, and I never did. And then by the time I got ready to go back to hiking, it just didn't work out, and then eventually it closed. So when there was the heat dome in like 2021 or whatever, it flooded out pretty majorly. And it's been closed ever since. But I do have a reservation to go back this year. Because on this trip here, this is just information about how the phases of rebuilding were going to go. But those phases are complete, so it's kind of irrelevant information. But I do have a reservation there. This is Overlander Falls. This is a little higher up on the Fraser River. There's two ways to hike to this falls. There's the one off the parking lot, which you just walk down. It's like maybe 5 minutes off the parking lot. I've never hiked that route. But if you hike from the campsite at the Berg Lake Meadows, or whatever it's called, Mount Robson Meadows, I don't remember the name. You hike, it takes about an hour. I think it's like 5K. Yeah, I think it's about 5K. And then you hike there, and then you get to the falls, and then you hike back. And it's like a nice like rolling hike. It's nothing strenuous, but like definitely worth it if you're at that campsite to go hike it. As a person that is relatively active and likes to hike, I think it's a better way to hike the whole thing than just to hike it off the parking lot. But if I was taking my mom, I would just hike from the main parking lot. But that's the Fraser River. And it's just wild seeing the color of the Fraser up here. Mount Robson is the headwaters of the Fraser River. Mount Robson is in BC, and it borders in the Rockies. It borders, I guess, Jasper. I think it's Jasper. So then, like, everything on this side of the mountain floods down into BC, and then everything on this side, not on Mount Robson itself, but on the mountains up there. So then that's like the divide. Whatever the border of that park is, everything goes down the Fraser, and then everything goes to the right, goes into Alberta. I don't really know where. But it's Mount Robson is like, as a Fraser River guy, it's like the Mecca. And this is just a scene along the hike. Just, again, beautiful little spot. And then this is Moose Lake, which is the only lake on the Fraser River, which I canoed. But I don't want to talk too much about the canoe trip because I think there's pictures of that canoe trip later. It's another picture of my van by a train. This is Moose Lake again. Moose Lake. Moose Lake. Wait, maybe this might not be Moose Lake. This is Yellowhead Lake. This is man, what's the campsite called? It's the Lucerne campsite. I've stayed here a couple times now, and this is Yellowhead Lake along the Lucerne campsite. So I'm at Lucerne here, and you can see I got a little squirrel chilling on my table, trying to drink my milk. If I had milk out, I was probably eating cereal for dinner. This could be breakfast, though. But yeah, just a squirrel. Better squirrel than mice, but either way, it's better on my table than in my tent. Or in my van, sorry. This is just some history of the area. I'm not really going to read that. Lucerne Campground. Shout out to TELUS for sponsoring this signage. Mount Robson. Historic Yellowhead Pass. This just explains the Yellowhead Pass, which will show you the Yellowhead Mountains later. Talks about the trains and stuff like that. And this is right at the Lucerne Campground. Lucerne Campground is where the Yellowhead Pass used to be. It's a historic lake. Yellowhead Highway is Yellowhead Lake. It all makes sense when you're there. And this is Yellowhead Lake. I canoed it. Canoed the whole lake. Beautiful little spot. And then these are the Seven Sisters. This is what you see the further you canoe up the lake. It's on the opposite side of the lake of the campsite. So this is what you look across the lake too. And it's just a beautiful little spot. And you can see why you would settle here when you were back in the day when they were putting the railway through. And I would definitely recommend this campsite as like a place to stop. Yeah, 7 sisters. 1, 2, 3. But yeah, pretty cool. And actually, you can't really tell here, but right behind this trees is the railway. A lot of these campsites have trains really close, which is kind of just the reality of the situation. Some people find that a negative, but it's just, I find it reality. And then this is my campsite again at Yellowhead Lake. Got my solar panels out. Oh, I got my canoe seat out here. If you look closely, you can see I have the bar out. Oh, the next one, yeah. I had to fix my canoe seat. So as I was canoeing Yellowhead Lake, my canoe seat, the support snapped, and I thought I was going to sink. All of a sudden, I just heard, like, snap, bang, and I, like, dropped down. And, like I said, I thought I was going to sink. I panicked and brought down my 360 camera. And then I finished the canoe with just having this water bottle underneath my seat. But then once I got back to camp, I set up. So I cut up some firewood and, like, lashed it all together and used it as support. And that was my seat fix. But this is still fairly early in my trip. And I had, like, some bigger plans of canoeing. But once I broke my seat, my canoeing plans kind of had to change, I guess. I didn't feel like I should do any, like, big multi-day trips. I didn't want to push my limits on the canoe with a broken seat. That was a bummer. But that was a pretty solid fix, if I'm honest with myself. And then this is Moose Lake again. So after canoeing Yellowhead Lake, the next day I went back to Moose Lake, which is the only lake on the Fraser River. And this was absolutely worth paddling. Yellowhead Lake was cool, and it was nice, and it's right next to the campsite. So, like, camp there, paddle there. You don't have to do the whole thing, but paddle around. Like, definitely worth it. But this was a bit more of an adventurous paddle. I think I canoed like 24K this day or something like that. Maybe it's slightly less. The guy at the campsite did not think that I could canoe all of Moose Lake in one day. And I thought I absolutely could, and then I did. But yeah, just a beautiful little spot. The color of the water is so nice. And then the mountains on both sides of you. It was pretty epic. Yeah, it was really awesome. Oh. There's where a bird used to live. I don't really know what happened to it, but it looks like it was eaten by some sort of animal. I think this is the far end of the lake. I started on... The water flows in from the... Let me think about this here. I'll call it the north end. It flows in from the north end. So I paddled towards the south end. But it might kind of be southeast end. And then it flows into the Fraser River. And then it were to go from here. It would continue down and go over Overlander Falls, which we saw earlier. And then over Rearguard Falls, which was, again, we saw earlier. So this would have been that end where I turned around. I have a photo here. So this is where I didn't canoe any further. Actually, I think you can see moose prints right here. I did not see a moose here, but I did see moose prints. But yeah, this is where the Fraser goes. And if I were to continue canoeing, which I couldn't, it would be dangerous, you would eventually get over to you'd get over Overlander Falls. And kayakers definitely go over at Overlander Falls. I don't know where they put in, but maybe here. But yeah, you can go over Overlander Falls in a whitewater kayak if you are that kind of person. Yeah, it's my turnaround spot. This is a cabin that I found on the lake. I think it actually is somebody's property, but I thought it was like a historic cabin. But let me think. Okay. There's some other stuff here. There's like a campsite. There's other cabins, not all just this historic looking cabin. There's like other cabins, campfire pit. It looks like people own the property, and this is just one of the buildings there. But it was I assume it's a historic cabin that used to be part of the railway situation, but it might just have a sign on there to make it look like that. But it was cool. Again, just beautiful spot. There was a nice sandy beach on here to camp at, and I think you can probably take regular boats out there. Not I think, you definitely can, because I seen a guy fishing at the end of the Fraser, or the mouth of it. But that was one of my favorite places of my trip, was canoeing on Moose Lake. But maybe that's just me because of the Fraser River connection, but that was a good day. And then this is I guess it's a giant beetle. Maybe it's not really giant, but it's a big beetle with this big antenna. I don't know what they are, but there's quite a few of them in this area. And actually at Valemont on Kinbassett Lake, I left my windows down when I was chilling there all day, and I had one of these in my van, like right on my pillowcase, and it scared the crap out of me. They're probably harmless, but they're kind of sketchy looking. This is a big old crow, maybe a raven, at Mount Robson. Well, here's it looking at you, thinking if it can eat you or not. Again, I don't know the difference between a crow and a raven. I think a raven is just a big crow. Mount Robson again. So actually, I had booked the hike to... I was going to hike to Whitehorn Lake on this trip, but then it closed before I could get there due to flooding. But that's why I'm back here. There's Mount Robson with no clouds above it. So that's all. It's like 3,940 meters tall. And that's it in all its glory, Mount Robson. But yeah, I planned to hike all the way, but then it was closed. I was going to go... I hiked to Kinney Lake last year, and then they opened the trail up further to Whitehorn. So I booked in advance a trip to, or a campsite at Whitehorn. And then by the time I got there, they closed due to flooding. Campsite due to close to flooding. So I ended up just hiking up to Kinney Lake again. And this is Kinney Lake. Kinney Lake is a nice day hike. I think it's 5K to get up there. And I've hiked it 2 years in a row. It's definitely a nice little hike. There's me taking selfies again. But yeah, mountains just in and around there. Just beautiful little mountains. I assume this water is extremely cold, but I did not go in. Mount Robson again. And these views of Mount Robson is right at like the rest area that you stop at, right on the side of the highway. It's... If you're driving through, like, it's crazy not to stop. And the best views are on the deck. The deck of the... It's the Mount Robson Visitor Center. You get free Wi-Fi, so you can post these pictures on Instagram. Definitely worth it. And then this is me driving through towards Jasper. I guess... I was going towards Hinton here. And this is Jasper National Park. They had just reopened the highway. So... Yeah, I drove through it. And then this is the Hinton Walmart. This is a parking lot that I stayed in for 2 nights. And this is the Walmart from inside. The Walm was out, so it was just art. So I took a photo like it was art. This is a taco stand. So this Les Tres Marias food truck. I got tacos here in Hinton. But I got tacos here the year before in Jasper. And they used to operate in the park, or in the campsite, the Whistler's campsite in Jasper. But then they got displaced because of the fire. But now they're just operating in Hinton, right outside like the, I think it was like the City Hall of Hinton. So I had to go there and be nostalgic about it. Oh, you can see the van in the background. But that was a pretty ugly day in Hinton. The weather was rainy. The Beaver Boardwalk sign, wildlife in the area. This is just what you do when you're in Hinton. You're like, what is there to do? And you look, Google map it. And there's a nice little park, Maxwell Lake, Beaver Boardwalk Trail. You see that's a big old beaver den. Beaver Lodge, I think they're called. That's more Beaver Lodge. The Rick Bonaire Wildlife Tower. Shout out to Rick. But I really took this picture because I thought his name was kind of funny, because I'm immature and bone air. it, I'm immature. That's all I'll say. And then this is the lake. This is the view from the lookout tower. And yeah, just hinting. Wearing my rain gear and my BC hat. Yeah, just a nice little park. Again, there's a little more beaver. I don't know if these are piles of logs or if there's actually beavers living inside. But here's a beaver. I did see beaver. I think I saw 3 beavers. Is it beavers or beaver? Anyways, this is a beaver. You can't see him that good. I was walking on the boardwalk, and I think I was literally talking to myself. And then I came around the corner, and then there's a guy standing there with like a camera with a lens this big, taking photos of beaver. And yeah, I was literally talking to myself, and I was like so embarrassed. But then I saw he had a camera. I was like, oh, this guy knows where the good stuff is. So I started talking to him, try to smooth it over and act cool. It was kind of embarrassing, but if you do see someone with a giant camera like that, they might know what they're doing. And then I don't think he gave me any good tips, but I did see a beaver right by where he was. And you can sort of see the boardwalk here in the background. The boardwalk here kind of weaves around quite a lot. It's an interesting little place. Obviously, the weather wasn't that good, so I did a medium amount of exploring here, but I didn't want to get too crazy. But yeah, it's all swampy, beavery. Interesting little place. Where I live, we do not have like landscapes like this. Yeah, I think this sort of shows kind of how the beaver dams like hold up the lake. Otherwise, it'd look totally different. But you can't really see the depth on here, but kind of interesting. There's another beaver hiding in the grass. And this is my van. This is the Walmart parking lot again in Hinton. And this is where I was parked, and then this huge RV showed up with towing a car. And I think I took this photo and put it on Instagram. It's like the guy versus the guy she tells you not to worry about. But it is funny, like we're both camping in Hinton in the Walmart parking lot. But it just shows you the different ways that you can adventure. And we're doing the same thing, but we're doing it in such different ways. His RV is literally like 3 times the size of my van, and he's towing a car. And then he ran his generator. I'd say his, I'm assuming it was a guy. He ran the generator all night, and it was so loud. And I slept terribly in that parking lot. But then what do you expect when you're camping in a Walmart parking lot? The beggars can't be choosers, as they say. And then this is me hitting the road. This is that cheap Albertan gas. $1.52.9. I don't remember where this gas station was, but obviously it was outside of Hinton somewhere. This might have been pretty close to Edmonton, because I bought this hat in Edmonton. That was my authentic Albertan cowboy hat. I bought the cheapest hat you could buy at the hat store. I think it was called like Laramie's or Lammy's or something like that. But I went in, I'm like, I need a hat that'll fit my head and is cheap. So I paid like $50 for this hat, but it's like still too small. And it was like the biggest hat they sold. And I really kind of regretted buying that hat because I don't have any money. And then I was also carrying this big stupid hat the whole trip with me. It's like I'm very limited on space. And I bought this stupid hat because I was in Alberta. I thought it'd be funny. And it really wasn't. Joanne's food truck. I did not eat here. I did not know why I took a photo. Oop. There's me smoking something in my cowboy hat. And eating peanut butter filled pretzels. These peanut butter filled pretzels are one of the best van lifing snacks. They're perfect for road tripping. They're salty, but also with the peanut butter center, it's like kind of sweet. But also they're in a mouse-proof container. And if you, well, actually, I think we might get to it. Well, this is the shower. So I'm at a campsite here. You can see I'm camping. This is my spot. Not the best looking campsite, but it had nice showers. And I believe this is the first nice shower of my trip. This is a national park. It's called Elk Island, and that's like the first nice shower of the trip. And this is another boardwalk at the place. There's I think that's a muskrat. And this is Asstoten Lake at Elk Island. It's a nice little spot, Elk Island National Park. Nice little frame for your Instagram pictures. And you see the sun setting. This is this is a kind of a cool spot. This is like an hour outside of Edmonton, and I guess it's pretty popular with Edmontonians, because it's only an hour out of town, so you can get there, spend the day, and then get out of town, go back home. But I was camping here. But yeah, nice sunset, beautiful sunsets here. I stayed here 2 nights, and both nights had absolutely epic sunsets, and I kind of regretted not canoeing at sunset, but you can't do everything. Yeah, here's the Asstoten Lake blue-green algae. It warns you not to swim or put your dog in the water or walk in it. I guess it's toxic. I don't really know. Yeah, sun setting. In my head, this island itself was Elk Island, because Elk Island campsite is not an island. It's like a wilderness island. But in my head, this was Elk Island. But yeah, Asstoten Lake. I really do want to go back to there and canoe at sunset. Even with the algae. That's another, I think that's a muskrat. There's like a little boardwalk section that was worth walking. And then you see all these muskrats and stuff. And then this is mouse poo. So if you go back, you have a mouse-proof container with your pretzel bites, because there were definitely mice in this campsite. And I have a bit of a phobia of mice after my last year. My last year had mouse incidents. I wonder if I should do one of these of that. This is a giant of that trip. That would make some sense. This is a giant pile of buffalo poop. I wish I remember the trail name here. But you can see this is a trail. Elk Island is known for bison, for buffalo. So I went looking. That's the whole reason I went there, was to go look for bison. And that's why there's buffalo poop. I love that. Mouse poop, bison poop. And this bison poop is probably like a foot round. But yeah, you follow this trail. I was looking for bison. So I hiked like 15K on this trail. I wish I remember the name of it. And it was like really hot and sunny. And there's not a lot of shade in some of it. And I went looking for bison. And I did not find bison. I took a picture of this tree. Once you get through, there's like a foresty area. And then it widens right up to this big open meadowy area. And then it's like this one tree just standing there. And that's why I took a photo of it. Interesting. And then there's like a little wallow. I think they're called wallowing pits, where I think the bison lay down and rub around, and it wrecks the grass, and then it becomes like a little puddle. So then over time it will hold water, and then it's like a puddle. Anyways, wallow pits. I don't know if I took a photo of them, but that's what this whole area is, like big open grass with one tree and some wallowing pits. I think this looks like an album cover of some sort of musical artists. One tree. And see, this is the trail. The trails here are weird, in my opinion, because it's just grass. You're hiking. When I hike here, it's like you hike through the forest, and the ground is all rocky and dirt. But here it was just like grass, and then it's like a grassy trail through a grassy meadow, and it was just really strange and interesting to get used to. Oh, there's a mushroom. I don't know if that red thing is a separate thing or if that's part of the mushroom, but I would not eat this mushroom. This is the first buffalo I saw, and he is not real. This is in the visitor center where I bought my national parks pass. This is like a taxidermied buffalo. I say taxidermy. He could just be a straight buffalo or straight up fake buffalo, but I think it's a real buffalo but stuffed. Anyways, I took this photo in case I did not see a buffalo in real life. This is Askhatoon Lake, some sort of weird panorama photo. This is the sunset number 2. I discovered the Red Clay Strays here, which is a band. And I was totally vibing sitting on this beach, maybe partaking in some sort of activities, and just absolutely chilling in the sunset till it got dark, listening to the Red Clay Strays. And yeah, just absolute vibe. Beautiful sunset though. Yeah. Pretty, yeah. Awesome. There's more mouse poo. I love the transition. Epic sunset, mouse poo. And I did not get a mouse in my van. Well, I'll go back. I just seen a buffalo here. So I wake up in the morning, see some poop. But I decided to head out early in the morning. The day before, I went out looking for bison later. So I went out early in the morning. And then I immediately saw this bison like 5 minutes out of camp, just on the side of the road. That's bison number 1. There's bison number 2. And these are all right. Obviously, you can see my door panel there. This is right outside of camp. That's, yeah, just a bison. He's right off the road, or not right outside of camp. Right off the road, literally taking it from my van. Just a bison on the side of the road. And this is the whole reason I came there, was to go see bison. There's another one. And this is all, I was heading out to a hike. And this is all on the way. And this is one I seen on the hike. This is out in the woods. I think this might be the only one. Yeah. Yeah, so, well, here we go. I hiked. I don't remember the name of this hike either, but I put my cowboy hat on and I went hiking. And I was hold on, that might be a lie. Let me think about this here. I can't remember now. I'm not going to tell that story in case I'm wrong. But I hiked out here. Yeah, I did wear my cowboy hat, and I went hiking out to see these bison. And I think this is south of the highway, and this is a different type of bison. And I went down there, and I was walking all the way down, and it was like a 15K hike, but I was not ready to hike 15K because I had hiked 15K to find no bison the day before. So I was like, okay, I'm just gonna walk as far as I can until I decide like I'm either gonna see one or I'm not. And then I was like ready to turn around, but I kept going. And then all of a sudden, you could hear / feel the bison. They were like you could feel the footprints. And they came running across the path out in front of me, maybe like 30 feet away. There was like a herd of bison. It was like, I think it was 8 or 9 of them come running across. And then I ended up seeing 2 or 3 more, that's where I took the photo of them, because I think on my GoPro I got the herd running across. And then this is one that I saw later. But I think I seen 11 bison on my feet at like close range. And it was cool. But I was totally ready to turn around. And then I ended up seeing them. But that's him out in the woods. I think that's a lake behind me. There's me zoomed in on it's my cell camera. Yeah. But yeah, they're just like on the other side of this tree line, and I'm on the path here. And then this photo shows you the pathway. So again, it's a weird path. It's like just grassy in amongst the trees. But yeah, they just come running from one side of the trees to the other, just across. And like I said, you could feel them, you could hear them. It was cool. It was worth it going there to see the bison. But if I didn't see the bison on foot, it wouldn't have been quite as cool. Because it was cool seeing them from the car, but like up close and personal hiking, that was worth it. Sunsets and bison was pretty much my Elk Island memories. That's a B. That is a gummy, an edible. Cold Lake bars. So after I went from Elk Lake, I headed up to Cold Lake, Alberta, which I did not know anything about Cold Lake, Alberta. But I think that's where, not I think, they have a military base up there. I did not go. But I did get a couple flyovers by like military jets, which I did not see them, but I heard them. And I was like, ooh, this is crazy. But yeah, there's a Cold Lake barge. And that's Cold Lake. And actually, this is a basketball court right on the lake. You can see the lake in the background, the sandy beach. But I thought it was really cool. This whole place, there's Feast at the Beach, Fat Beach. This is like a food truck festival that I wanted to go to, but I was not staying until the weekend. And to stay there, I would have had to stay like 4 more days or 3 more days just to eat some food trucks. And I felt like that was the wrong thing to do. But I really wanted to because... Oh, there's a selfie. Oh, I got a toucan. This is properly chilly out there, even though it was... This is either the very end of August or right at the beginning of September. And it was chilly with the wind. It was quite windy. But the lake here was really nice. Obviously, it was choppy and windy. And this is a dock I was standing on. I don't know if I can get to. Oh, yeah, you can see, well, even here, you can see the beach in the background. It was like a nice sandy beach. And then this is the morning when there's no wind. It was like a pretty epic beach town. And when you think about like that, basketball court, like right on the beach. And then, like I said, I was eating on the beach. This is like a weird beach town, like weirdly nice beach town in Cold Lake, Alberta. I never would have thought. I thought this was funny because there was no tea and trash. It was just a rash. Again, I'm simple and humorous. There's me being stupid. This is the first Starbucks beverage I've ever had. It was a chai latte. I was uploading a video. It took me a really long time. This is evidence of that. 22% uploaded. 3 hours remaining, and I really think it slowed down from that. Ugh. I think I actually quit Starbucks Wi-Fi and had to go find somewhere new. In my experience, libraries better Wi-Fi than businesses that say they have Wi-Fi. This is a banana candy can. I took that because I think it reminded me of my friend Dustin. He likes those banana candies. And this is me entering Saskatchewan, the land of living skies. This is where I really felt like I was in Saskatchewan. In Canwood, Saskatchewan. This is a grain tower. I don't really know why, but I had this desire that I really wanted to go to Saskatchewan. So once I couldn't get to Jasper, Saskatchewan was the thing that was calling me the most. So that was why I had to, that's why I ended up going there. But yeah, coming into Saskatchewan, it's like everything you think about. The grain towers, whatever these things are, I think they're also grain towers. Well, I think that's a grain elevator. And that's a grain tower. I'm not really sure, but you can see the flat farmlands. And then I went to Waskesiu Lake. This is Waskesiu Lake. This is in Prince Albert National Park. I had no idea what I was doing, but I drove to Saskatchewan. And I think the weather wasn't the best when I was driving, so I just kept driving. And then I went to Prince Albert, and I got gas in Prince Albert at a 7-Eleven. And it was a really sketchy 7-Eleven. I do not recommend going there. And as I was like getting gas, I was like looking around. It's like, I don't know about this place. And it was like, yeah, it was sketchy looking. There was guys like wearing masks, like covering their faces, like look like gangsters, and riding like bikes. They just looked like they were up to no good. And yeah, again, I was like, oh, I think I made a mistake. Why did I come to Saskatchewan? No one goes to Saskatchewan. So I went from Prince Albert, and then I went up north to Prince Albert National Park, which is about an hour north of it. And that's where Waskesiu Lake was. I know a few people that grew up in Saskatchewan. When they saw us at Waskesiu Lake, they're like, "Oh my god, I spent all my summers there. I used to go every summer. I went to summer camp, whatever." I guess Waskesiu Lake is a thing that everybody in Saskatchewan does, but I had never heard of it. I just kind of showed up by accident, and I was there for the Labor Day long weekend. And yeah, nice sandy beach here on the lake, but we'll probably see more pictures of that. And this is the Bagua route. If you notice here, this is a train track, but it's actually for a boat rail car. So this is a portage of a canoe trip that I went on, but I tried to do, but I ended up not being able to finish because of the wind. Saskatchewan has a lot of wind, but there's like a rail cart, which I hopefully have a picture of, that you can put your canoe on, and then you can ride it along the rails. But I had my own cart, so I just went there. But yeah, this is the beginning of that. I have a video on that, which is worth doing. This is these are the people. So we were holed up on a beach. Basically, you come out of a river, do a portage, get back on the river, and then it opens up onto this lake, which is called, Kingsmere. This is called Kingsmere Lake. And as soon as it opened up to the lake, it was so windy. And the waves were like breaking like crazy when I came out of the river. And I was like, oh, this is sketchy. I do not think I'm going to be able to finish this paddle. But it's like, I might as well try. So I went up to the side, and then there's like a ranger's cabin. So I pulled up there to like reassess the situation. And then when I got there were these two kids here. Two kids. They're like 21, 22. They were there. And then there was a family all holed up waiting for the weather to change or whatever. And then there was me, so we were all chatting. And then eventually these two guys, they decided they were just going to send it anyway. So this is a photo of them sending it around the peak in the waves. And it doesn't really do it justice, but it was quite wavy. But they were committed, and they made it. I've talked to these guys. I have them on Instagram. But they kept going. But they were like, they didn't want to go sideways to the waves. So they went like way out to the middle. And then they were like cutting back. But it was like, they were like way out there in a way that I wouldn't really want to be. But for myself in my situation, it's like, I didn't want to paddle in the hectic waves to get somewhere where it's like, if I just paddle back, then I can go back to the lake, hang out in my van in the campsite, and that's totally fine. I don't really need to be paddling. So I turned around, but these guys kept going. So shout out to them for that. And actually, there was a lady, and I think she had 3 kids and a dog. She might have even had 4 kids and a dog in a canoe. The oldest kid was like 11, maybe 13. And then this lady was canoeing with all these kids and a dog and full camp gear. And then she kept going. And we all, the ones that were still at the ranger's cabin waiting, we were laughing that this lady was crazy enough to go. But she made it. Pretty wild. I wouldn't have done that. This is, I think I tried to take some photos of the stars at night, which did not turn out well. This is the road to the campsite. I don't remember the name of the camp, but this is all up in Waskesiu Lake area. And there's some foxes. Fox. Again, is it foxes or fox? I've never seen a fox before, actually, until this trip. I was warned last year in Banff that there was an aggressive fox that keep my food off the table. But I'd never seen a fox before. And then I saw these two running alongside me. And it was cool. Boulder Dash. This is telling you about... Oh, here, I'll read this because there's going to be a picture of a boulder. There was a time in this land when the earth bent under the weight of moving ice. Ice 1 mile thick and a half. Oh, I screwed that up. I'm not a good reader. There was a time in this land when the earth was bent under the weight of moving ice. Ice 1 mile thick and a half, I can't even read, a half a continent wide. I don't know why they have a dash instead of like a comma or a period. Anyways, formed the Canadian... I'm not going to read this. Whatever. It formed the Canadian Shield, yada, yada, yada. This 78-ton boulder stood in the way. Like a pebble, it was swept southward and deposited in the park. And this is the giant boulder that was pushed there in the middle of this area by ice. And if you looked around, well, I don't have that many photos, but everything else was sand. And then there's this giant rock. And it's one of those things that it was one of the biggest takeaways I found of Saskatchewan. There was like a total lack of rocks. Everything was either dirt, grass, or sand. There was like hardly any rocks. And as a guy that lives in BC, there's just so many rocks. There's rocks in the yard, the rocks in the river. People have rocks in their yard for landscaping. But I felt like even in Saskatchewan, there wasn't rocks in people's yards. Probably because there's no rocks around. So rocks are hard to come by. And it was one of those things that really stood out to me the longer I stayed out in Saskatchewan. It was just how few rocks I saw. It's a food menu of the place I went. I wanted to get an egg salad croissant, but the egg salad was not ready, so I got a scone which was actually really good. I remember that. It was the Kingsmere River rail cart. So this is an old school aluminum canoe on the cart. I think I have a better photo. So this is the cart that goes on the rail. This is the old school version of it. I guess I didn't have a photo of the one, but it looks similar to this. It wasn't yellow though. I actually got some people from Saskatchewan that were very nice, that were going to push the cart back to help when somebody came. Because the rail, if you put your canoe on one end, you push it all the way to the other, then the cart's at the other end. So they were going to push it back to help somebody out. But then I showed up right when they were going to do it. And then I was like, oh, I'm good, man. I got my own cart. And they're like, nah. And they dragged my canoe up, put it on, and they dragged it all the way to the end. I didn't really have a choice in the matter. And then I ended up, the two guys pushed it and they ran up ahead and stuff like that. And then I ended up chatting up their wives. Not that kind of way. But I was chatting up their wives. And I was getting information on what I should be doing in Saskatchewan. And they gave me some good info about the Meewasin Trail, which I ended up staying or walking on later. So that was the Saskatchewan hospitality with the rail carts. Actually, speaking of Saskatchewan hospitality, I wish I remember this guy's name. But I showed up to where I saw where the fox is. So whatever campsite that was, when you come out a ways, and then you come on the road, and then there was like all of a sudden there's a whole bunch of cars parked, and I was like, what's going on? It's like there's a beach there called, I can't remember the beach. Anyways, there's a whole bunch of cars, and I pulled over. I was like, hey, is there some sort of party going on like that I should know? And they're like, oh yeah, there's a swimming race. So I guess the Prince Albert Triathlon Club puts on a race called Crown the King, where you go out and you round King's Island, and they swim open water swim, so they swim around it and come back. So I ended up watching this race, and then I run into this guy, who again I forget his name, and then we just started talking because we're both just traveling solo. And I felt like people in Saskatchewan, the ones that I met, when I said I was from BC and I expressed interest in learning about Saskatchewan, they were very excited to share Saskatchewan with me. And this guy especially. So he gave me like a 40-minute lesson all about Saskatchewan, told me about the Canadian Shield. And I don't want to get too far ahead of myself, but this summer I might go canoe in northern Saskatchewan, where this guy recommended me go. But he gave me a big lesson, told me all this stuff I needed to know. And he was super nice and super helpful. And then later on, I'm at the beach, this beach you can see in behind, And then as I'm on the beach, you can see there's this big concrete like wave break. And I was like, I'm going to go on that wave break. So I walked out to the wave break. And then as I'm sitting on there, this water bottle blew off the wave break. Windy in Saskatchewan. It blew off and started floating away. And then all of a sudden, this guy that I had talked to for like 40 minutes earlier, he comes coming by on his paddleboard here. And then I was like, hey, can you get my water bottle? So he went, scooped it up for me and gave it back. And really nice dude. Like I said, I really wish I remembered his name. Really nice guy. And yeah, it was just like a lucky coincidence. Like I could have lived without that water bottle. But also, like, I littered. That water bottle was in the lake. It's like, it's not great. So this guy, yeah, perfect timing. And again, if you talk to people, people will help you out. And this is, I think this is actually on Kings Island. The one they swam around. So everyone swam around it, and I watched it. I do not swim. I'm a terrible swimmer. I think it's like 2.5K. 2.5K. It took me an hour to canoe around this lake or this island, and they swam it. So I think it was 4K. I think it was 4K. Anyways, they swam around this island, and then I was watching them do it. I'm like, you know what? I have to go canoe around that island. That was the right thing to do. So I went at sunset to go canoe around this island. And this is me on the island taking a photo of my canoe. It was pretty awesome. This is a pelican. I think that's a pelican. I don't think I've ever seen a pelican in the wild, but there's pelicans at around Kings Island. Again, sun setting. This is me being done. So there's Kings Island. So they left on this beach. I forget the name of the beach, but it was a campsite right off the lake. There's whatever. It doesn't matter. And then they'd swim out around this lake or island, and then come back. It's a long swim, to be honest with you. And actually, if you look at this boat here, I met this lady on the boat. Her name was Jo. She offered me to stay at her house in Saskatoon. And I literally met them on this, like I pulled up my boat here. And then she's like, oh, hey, how's it going? And I was like, good. Told her what I was doing. And she's like, cool, if you're ever in Saskatoon, you can come stay at my house. And I'm like, oh, I'm totally good. Like, you're a total stranger. She's like, no, I mean it. Like, it's no trouble at all. Like, we always have people coming in and out. It's like, okay, cool. But if I go to Saskatoon, I'm in my van. Like, I'm totally good. Like, do not worry. And then she's like, no, I insist. And then she forced me to take her phone number. And told me if I was ever in Saskatoon that I should phone her and I could stay at her house. And I did not phone her. But incredibly nice people in Saskatchewan. I would never, almost never, give my phone number to a stranger and tell them to stay at my house. Insist they stay at my house. I would never do that unless they were good looking. And I certainly don't fit that bill. And then this is me driving back. This is that same lake. This is Waskesiu Lake. But as I was coming back at sunset. Saskatchewan, land of the living skies. That sign said it on the way in. And this is that defined. A little blurry because I was driving. This is Devon Baker Park disc golf course. This is in Saskatoon. I went here to play. This is the number 2 rated disc golf course in Saskatchewan. And I was all excited to play it. And then I went there and I threw my first disc. And it went way up and to the left and left into some big tall grass. And I couldn't find the disc. I spent like 15 minutes looking for it. Couldn't find the disc. And I played a few more holes. But because I looked for the disc for so long and the sun was setting, it kind of sucked. The Meewasin Trail. This is information I got from those guys that pushed my cart. Their wife. They told me that Meewasin Trail is what I should do when I'm out there. And this is just a trailhead that gave you information. Told you distances of everything. So I ended up canoeing to one of these bridges. That was just all information on the sign. This is the lake or the river. This is the South Saskatchewan River outside of Saskatoon. Again, like, look at the sandy beaches. And no rocks to be seen. It's all sand or dirt. Yeah. Oh. And hay bales. I saw these hay bales. These are my first like Saskatchewan hay bales. And I was so excited to see them. This is right off the Meewasin Trail. This hay bales. And again, this is off the Meewasin Trail. It's another disc golf thing. This is me cooking dinner. I don't know what that is. Does not look too appetizing. But this is right next to the van in a parking lot that I slept in. This is a sketchy looking bathroom in a Walmart. Anytime you see wires hanging out, it's a little bit sketchy. But if that's a camera, you gotta take a photo of the camera, you know? There's probably a picture of me taking a picture of it, you know? This is, again, the Meewasin Trail, South Saskatchewan River. Another train, but this is the Gordie Howe Bridge. If you do not know who Gordie Howe is, you should. But he's a legendary Canadian hockey player from Saskatchewan, I believe. And that's his bridge. So basically, I went down these stairs to start my canoe trip. And this is, I canoed up this river. And this is a view from the Sugar Shack, which is right here. This is the Sugar Shack. Highly recommend the Sugar Shack. I got a smash burger here and fries. And it was really good. Maybe I was just hungry because I was canoeing. I canoed up there. I canoed the South Saskatchewan River I canoed it up to a bridge. And then I ended up stopping because I thought I saw a castle in the distance, which I kind of did. Castle is probably a bit of an overstatement, but it was like an old historic chateau-looking building. And I can't remember the name of it, but it's in Saskatoon. And I think it's like a 1930s hotel built by the railway, I think is the history of it. But anyways, I saw it out in the distance, so I stopped my canoe in like this gross spot on the river. It was gross. And there was, yeah, it was gross. Anyways, I got out, I walked up, and I came out into like this sketchy looking park. And I realized that Saskatoon has sketchy areas. Anyway, so I canoed up there, checked it out, went back to my canoe, came down, stopped at the Sugar Shack for breakfast, or for lunch or dinner, or whatever the time it was. And then I had this burger, and it was so good. I recommend the Sugar Shack. But from the Sugar Shack, there's tables out front, but I didn't want to leave my canoe unattended in this town that I have now realized is sketchy. So I walk down, go back here. I walked down these rocks here to where my canoe was. And then as I'm eating in my Sugar Shack, I was actually filming a little food review, talking to the camera. And then all of a sudden this like, I will say a sketchy looking individual. Not super sketchy, like my life is not in danger. But I'm going to go out on a limb and say this man is a homeless person. He comes walking up behind me, just minding his own business. Didn't realize I was there. And then just kind of walks in. And then there's this weirdo filming himself eating a burger, talking to nobody. And it was just like, I guess that's like where I was like a main walking route for Saskatoon's homeless people. Well, there you go. I think that's self-explanatory. There's just some graffiti I saw from the river. This is downtown Saskatoon from the river. It's pretty much the whole Saskatoon. Kind of looks nice though. What does that say? Nutrient. I assume that's a fertilizer country. Probably sells potash. But kind of nice little downtown core. There's a Canadian flag. But speaking of nice downtown cores, alongside the river, there are some ballin' looking houses. And I was creeping on them by taking photos. But you can see, quite nice looking house. But this guy's got some sort of boat garage, which I thought was pretty impressive. But yeah, quite a few nice houses all alongside the river. And it's funny, like I was looking at the house prices in Saskatchewan, and some of them are very cheap, but then these ones are very expensive. Well, maybe not very expensive. They're expensive, but compared to like Vancouver, probably a good deal. But yeah, right along the river, quite nice. Look at this landscaping. Freshly mowed, solar panels. But yeah, pretty ballin' houses right alongside the river. And then this is, looking out at the river. It's my portage down there. Actually, these are the only rocks I saw in the river. That's how you know they're balling, because they imported rocks. This is it's called Optimist Hill. This is I think it used to be a garbage dump, but is now oh yeah, there you go. Optimist Hill. It used to be a garbage dump that is now just it's a tobogganing run. And I think over here, I think these are like little I guess like a conveyor belt chairlift style. I think is what these are. There's two of them. And obviously I did not toboggan. It was summer. But it looked pretty cool. And even look at that. There's street lights there. So you could probably toboggan at night. I think this thing would be pretty badass if you're there in the winter. I guess there's not a lot to do in Saskatoon in the winter other than toboggan down Optimist Hill. The former garbage dump. Anyways, I thought it was cool. There's another sunset over the river. Again, the me Wasson. Hay bales, hay bales, hay bales. Selfie with a hay bale. Another selfie with a hay bale. The land of the living skies. Sunset with a hay bale. Hay bale. I felt like this trip, a lot of the things about Saskatchewan were true, but then a lot of them like weren't. But it's very flat. There's a lot of farmland, a lot of hay bales, all that stuff. But then there was like a lot of things that I didn't expect to see, and it was like nicer and cooler, and it was awesome. It was an awesome experience. But I did have a lot of fun with the flat, the hay bales, that kind of stuff. There's Crake or Crack. I don't know how you pronounce it. I thought it was funny. What does it say? Friendliest place by a dam friendliest place by a dam site. I don't really know what that means. I drove through Crack. I did not do Crack. What is this? This is the Buffalo Pound. Yeah, it's the Buffalo Pound Park. I think it's called Buffalo Pound Park. Maybe Buffalo Pound Lake. Anyways, I did my fantasy football draft literally on this this patio here. I had Wi-Fi. And this campsite came with free firewood. And like, you're like, oh yeah, free firewood. And you're like, is it going to be good? And then they'll tell you where the firewood pile is. And you get there and there's a huge firewood pile. You're like, oh yeah, I got all the firewood I could possibly imagine. And there was bison. And groundhogs. Or prairie dogs or whatever they call them. I think this one's right in camp. There's my fire with the firewood. This is in the morning by Buffalo Pound Lake in the background. Van looking good. And then these are the bison from the bison range. Pretty crappy photo, but that's cell phone. They were not up close and personal. And this is like a little monument they had to buffalo. I don't know what that is. I don't know if that's a buffalo or if that's a wolf or a werewolf. Or like, I don't really know. And then if you look up here, there's a bison with wings, which the wing is broken. But it's like pretty, I don't want to be rude to the artists if they are watching. Pretty amateurish art here. But I thought the lake itself was nice, but the art was not. I've seen a picture online of this dog with no neck. That's what this werewolf looks like. Oh, man. Anyways. And then here's a Sasquatch art carved into the rock. I feel like they just asked somebody if they could carve into the rock, and they said yes. And then they carved and realized, like, oh, that's not who we should have asked. I like Bigfoot, though. And then here's another bison carving, which is, what do you rate that? A 6 out of 10? Maybe. Selfie, again, it was chilly here. This is starting to get later in the year. I don't know what the date is here, but I think it's probably like the 7th of September-ish. That prairie dog. Look at it. Look at that thing. They dig a lot of holes, which I think is like people hate them because they dig all the holes. But as somebody that's not around prairie dogs, I think they're cute. And I don't mind the holes. I do not step in one of them. This is the disc golf course at Buffalo Pound. And if you look, you can see... Oh, where's the basket on here? I don't really know where the basket is, nor what that shack is. But I know that my disc is right there in that tree. I'm not that good at disc golf. And this is some flat Saskatchewan ground. Again, a lot of people they're like, oh, don't even bother going to Saskatchewan, it's just flat. Which is kind of true. But also, like, I found a lot of joy in that fact that you're just driving for miles, driving for the kilometers, tens of whatever, hundreds of kilometers. And it's just flat, like grass, wheat fields, whatever they grow, soybeans. I don't even know what they grow. It was interesting. It's just cool to see. It's a landscape I'd never seen before. So it was flat, but there is some positives to being flat. Erected in 1912, ravaged by fire. This is a church in Moose Jaw, Saskatchewan. So I left Saskatoon, headed south to Moose Jaw, basically to get gas and supplies, and then I was headed to Grasslands National Park. But when I went to Moose Jaw, I walked around. I think I might have went to a cannabis store, and so I just walked through the downtown, and there's quite a few old buildings in Moose Jaw, and I just thought it was quite interesting. I don't even know what this one is. I mean, it's City Hall. Oh yeah, City Hall. It says it right there. But yeah, I didn't really know what to expect, and then it was like these kind of historic buildings, and I thought it was really interesting. It's something, like I said, I didn't expect. Kind of caught me off guard. But Moose Jaw was like this old historic city. I thought that was interesting. Again, this is more flat. Well, it's not flat. It's gently rolling. But yeah, big, wide open skies. This is me heading down to Grasslands National Park. Rock Creek Campground. This is where I camped. I took a photo of the sign because it says... Well, you can read that. Again, I'm immature. And I shouldn't joke about molestad. I shouldn't make jokes about that. This is Grasslands National Park. You can see the grass. And just, you can see how flat and long. There's just so much open space. There's my van. This is on the Grasslands Parkway, which we'll get into. I think this is called like the gateway to Grasslands. And yeah, you like walk. There's this parkway here. You can see the road in behind. This road's like 10K or something like that, and it winds you towards like the U.S. border. That's how south we are. Through the grasslands, it has a bunch of different stops along the way where you walk out towards like the Badlands, and they all have their own little unique little spot. And this is the first one, just checking it out. And then this is a landscape steeped in stories. Well, this one's cool. I'm not good at reading out loud, as we know. But this one is the Lakota Sioux sought sanctuary here after the Battle of Little Bighorn in 1876. Some member of Chief Sitting Bull's tribe fled north across the Medicine Line, the Canada-U.S. border, and camped along Rock Creek safe from the pursuing American army. And that's what this is. So there's the famous red chairs. And this is like you overlook. So I don't think you're going to be able to see it in this photo. But, oh, maybe you can. Down here, like winding down here, you can see Rock Creek. So there would have been at some point, they fled from America up here and hid after the Battle of Little Bighorn. I don't know the full history of the Battle of Bighorn, but you can see there's a little rendering of all the teepees there. I don't know if that's an accurate depiction or if that's just a general idea. But yeah, you can see it. There's a lot of history up in this area. But just it's a cool landscape. It really is. And this you're on like a cliff overlooking. Really cool. And yeah. I think we'll see that again. So I won't talk too much about it. But yeah, the red chairs hanging out. It was wild hearing the sound of the grasslands. There was always like crickets chirping or whatever the sound crickets make. I'll go with chirping. And then like you hear like the wind rustling in the grass and stuff like that. It was so loud. It wasn't so loud, but it was a constant. You could constantly hear the noise of the grasslands. Really interesting, and looks big, open, and silent because there's nothing around. But there's quite a lot of noise. It was cool. Interesting place though. I've never seen a landscape like this. It's a weird panorama. I did walk down on this later. I think they called this like Terra Nova or something. But I walked down here, all the way down here. But I think I have photos of that later. This is like, I showed up on like, whatever, Tuesday. I went out checked it out in the evening. And then I went back the next day and checked everything out in full. So we'll probably get back to some of these things. But yeah, just cool looking. There's my van. Also cool looking. Yeah, sun setting. It was hot out here. There's some sort of deers. I thought they were kind of weird looking deers. So I think they might have been like pronghorn or something, which I think was information in the information book said it was an animal out there. But honestly, I don't really know. They could have just been regular deers. Deer? Is it deer or deers? I don't know how many times I've said that with different animals. Maybe that's a white-tailed deer. Anyways, they were just running alongside. So this barbed wire fence you can see in the front. I believe that's the park boundary. So then the area outside is just somebody's farm. And then that's where the deer like to run in. There's my van. I wonder if you can see. If you look in the grill in the front, you can see how many bugs and crickets and stuff were all in the front of it in the grill. It was kind of crazy. I thought they were going to make it all home with me. I was keeping it as like a souvenir. But over time, they kind of fell out of the grill and stuff. But at some point, I had so many bugs in the grill. Oh, here we go. Look at that. Butterflies, moths, whatever, crickets. Kind of disgusting, but it's like, that's Saskatchewan, baby. The red chairs. I think those are different ones than the ones I saw earlier. Beautiful sunset. This is the campsite from some, like, up on the parkway. And you can see these are the authentics. Oh, I'm trying to look for my van, but I'm in my van. But yeah, overlooking. Pretty cool. You know, the campsite. There's a teepee. Same teepee frame. These are the stars at night. I think it's a dark sky preserve there, but pretty epic stars at night. Pretty epic man bun right there. It's the first time I ever rocked a man bun. I kind of wish I could still rock a man bun, but I cut my hair. Breakfast. This is a petrified piece of wood. A petrified stump. I thought it was interesting. I'd never seen one before. Those are the same teepees. Van with solar panels. This is the campsite. There's not a lot going on in this campsite. Um, there's no shade. There's almost no trees in this place, which is kind of a bummer, but that's Saskatchewan, baby. Cactuses. Yeah, these are the Valley of 1,000 Devils, I think it was called. I hiked to. Oh, maybe that's wrong. That's not the Valley of 1,000 Devils. Yeah, it talks about the KPG boundary, where you see the Cretaceous Paleogene boundary, which is like the land before dinosaurs and the land after dinosaurs. You can see it in the thing. And there's all sorts of fossils in this area. I did not find a fossil, but apparently they're there in the van, looking good. This is just information about whatever. The stuff you might be able to find. These are some rocks. I took photos of rocks because you see how few rocks there are. So you take photos of the rocks you do see. Those are some sort of vertebrae. I'm assuming they're from like a deer, but I really don't know. Could be human. And this is that thing I said earlier I walked down on. That's where I found the vertebrae. Was down on that thing. There's selfie. Man bun selfies. But yeah, just really cool. You can walk down to all these spots and kind of explore at your leisure. Just really interesting place. I highly recommend going. If you're prepared to be in the sun and you don't mind that there's zero shade or privacy at the campsite, because it's just a big open field. But it's epic. Well, here's another deer out there. Yeah, you can see you can follow this trail all the way down to wherever. And you can explore as much or as little as you want. You can stick up on the parkway or you can go right down, and some hands-on experience. This is the same one as the little bighorn shit stuff. Sunset. And then this is the Valley of 1,000 Devils. I hiked there the next day. This was on you go like the other direction from the parkway. Similar type of landscape. Not quite as like epic, but it's epic enough to take a selfie. Yeah, it's definitely cool. Yeah, Valley of 1,000 Devils. There's a Glentworth. Yeah, so basically, when you leave, Grasslands Park is in 2 blocks. There's the East Block and the West Block. In between, there's like 100K of rural Saskatchewan, and I believe that's where these photos are. And then you head into the West Block. And then here's West Block's known for the prairie dogs. They got prairie dog colonies. This is, I think, heading into the park. Again, it's the same type of stuff. A little different. Not quite as epic, I thought, the west side compared to the east side. There's a bird. Prairie dog. My bike got totally messed up by the amount of dust you kick up. Because it's on the back hitch. You just get sprayed with dust. It's all the dirt. Not even rideable. This is the campsite in the West Block. Eating farmer sausage. That's Saskatchewan farmer sausage. And the sun setting. See the moon up there. Prairie dog. This is the Larson homestead. You can sort of see it. All dilapidated. They used to own this land. A lot of this land used to be like homesteaded. But then they reparked it. Made it into a park. This little trail. Talks about the prairie dogs. You can see all the prairie dogs. It kind of looks like the moon. Because they all have like little mounds with holes in it. Little like craters is what I thought. They call it Dogtown. They warn you not to get too close because these things carry some sort of plague. And I do not want the plague. But they are kind of cute. Ranch corrals. This is the creek. I think it's called Frenchman Creek. Water is not very appealing looking, but when you're out in the Badlands, any water is good water. And those were the corrals. Oh. You can see here in my selfie in the background, you can't really see it blurry. All these rocks are teepee rings. So when you build a teepee, you put rings out to hold like the animal skin or whatever you have draped over it in a ring. So there's 20,000 teepee rings in the park, and you can see the rings here. So I was like literally standing in the rings. And then if we go, there's more ring there. This is in the West Block. Way more rings in the West Block that I found than in the East Block. But I did see one in the East Block. But yeah, that's the road you come out on. Like, just such a big open landscape. Pretty epic. There's a bison. I've seen a bison there, but it was a very terrible photo. And then if you look here, I've talked so long. If you see here, you can see the green grass in the middle here. It's like kind of depressed. And then there's rocks on the outside. That's a buffalo chute. So they would have originally, it probably had more rocks, but they would have corralled the bison down that like chute to wherever they were trying to get him to go. There was no like buffalo jump at the end, but they would have either set up a trap or whatever. But that's how they would have corralled them down there for whatever they were doing. They would run them down there. So it was cool. It was really, really cool, actually, in my opinion, to go see the buffalo rings or the teepee rings and the bison chute. You're literally like standing in it. You could walk this bison chute. Pretty epic. Pretty epic. If you're into that, this is pretty epic. This guy, I never talked to this guy, but this is at the in Valmarie, Saskatchewan, at the gift shop, the park center or whatever, information center. This guy, I guess he was right. I don't know where he rode from. Oh, may have a photo from Ontario all the way to Saskatchewan on his like enduro bike. But yeah, then I went in there. I bought a magnet. And then there's one restaurant in Valmarie, which I got a lasagna and French fries, which is a weird combination, but Valmarie, there's not much to it. 34 degrees. There's not a lot to Valmarie, Saskatchewan. And the part that stood out to me is there was no gas from the East Block to the West Block. So you need gas when you're in Valmarie. And then Valmarie, the gas station, is literally a big tank of gas in a gravel parking lot. It was pretty wild. And then this is, there's two entrances on the West Block. And this is for the 70-mile Butte Trail. And there's just a big farmer's field outside of it. There's some grasshoppers in the field. What's in the name? 70-mile Butte. This is the trail. I made a video on this, but I deleted a lot of the footage by accident. This was an awesome little hike. This was probably my favorite part of the West Block. Other than it was cool to be in the teepee rings. But this was pretty epic as far as the scenery. And it was a nice little, like, decent distance hike. And because it was so hot during the day, you kind of time it to end with sunset. And it just makes the views extra spectacular. Yeah, pretty wild. I think this is looking out towards America. I think. But yeah, 70-mile Butte. It used to be the marker of 70 miles from somewhere to 70 miles somewhere else. But because it's a big flat landscape, if you have a big tall mountain here, a mound or whatever, a hill, that's it stands out. But yeah, beautiful sunset hike. And I seen a rattlesnake out here. I saw a bone too. I don't know what that is. Some sort of shoulder bone, maybe. I'm not really sure from what. There's a little bonsai looking tree. Yeah, epic sunset. Yeah, here's the parking lot. You see the van down there? I slept in that parking lot. I did not really think you're supposed to, but I did. But yeah, I saw a rattlesnake. Just as I was coming off this trail, I saw a rattlesnake. And I was concerned that I've had mice in my van before. And then once I seen a rattlesnake, I was like, oh, if mice can get in my van, I'm sure a snake could get in my van. And I was quite nervous, actually, this night, thinking that a snake was going to come in my van. But then I just kind of convinced myself that that was an unrealistic thing that could happen. But it probably could have, but it didn't. Yeah, pretty epic spot, though. Yeah, I really enjoyed that 70-mile butte. It was probably worth it. Better than the rest of the thing. There's some sort of weird dome house. I think I seen it driving by. I don't know if there's tornadoes out there or something, or if they just like cement domes. That's my 100 Years of Climax Saskatchewan hat. Paid $10 for that bad boy. This is downtown Climax, Saskatchewan. Population 120. Dick's Service. I posted a video of in Climax, and the guy that owned, or I think Dick's Service's grandson or uncle or something like that, messaged me or commented saying that was his grandpa or uncle's place. I thought it was funny because it was Dick's Service in Climax, Saskatchewan. I don't know if his name is Dick or not, or if that was the pun intended. There's the Climax. Oh, what's the deal here? Cantera Seeds. Anyways, the Climax Grain Tower. A bunch of birds. I took a bunch of photos here. Again, I'm immature. You have to go through Climax if you're in the area. This is the shower in Shaunavon, Saskatchewan. I went in here and the power went off when I was in the middle of having a shower. Because I guess they're time sensitive or whatever. So you automatically turn the lights on when you go in. And then they go out after 15 minutes. So the lights went out on me while I was in the shower. Kind of funny, but technically I was stealing a shower. So, karma. Yeah, it's very flat. But as I was leaving, there was a bunch of haze that came in. I think there were fires in the area. But yeah, just flat. This is as I was sort of leaving Saskatchewan, I think. And it was just flat. And I was like cooked from all the heat. And I was like in a mood. And just like flat haze in a mood. It was a fun little drive getting out of there. And I came back through the interprovincial highway of Cypress Hills. Fort Walsh. That was a cool little spot. There's a historic fort here. This is, I don't even remember Fort Walsh. But it was closed when I got there. It's closed on Mondays. Or Sundays. Or whatever the heck day I was there. It was closed. But it was a neat little spot. Give me some history. It's like police history of like back in the day. I don't remember it though. This is the campsite I stayed at. Again, the van's looking good. That campsite I stayed at had these cows. And I guess they just free range out there. But they kept coming into my campsite. And they're totally fine. They're minding their own business. But it's like, oh, I camped away from them. Just to like give them the space. So I picked like a terrible campsite at the far end of the spot. Instead of like the good campsite at the end. Because that's where the cows were. But if I had picked the good campsite, the cows probably just would have went to the other end. But yeah, just camping here. Looking at cows. The moon came out. I remember I was cooking dinner. Talking to the camera by myself. And some lady came up to tell me that the moon was shining up really nice between the trees above my van. But it's embarrassing when somebody comes up to you and you're talking to a camera. And I think it's embarrassing for them too. Same cows. There's more cows. As I was leaving through the park, there's a lot of cows. And then I got to this bakery. This bakery was good. I tried a king bagel. And I remember I asked the lady what kind of cream cheese she recommended. And she told me dill pickle. And it was the one I wanted the least. But I asked and I had to have it. But it's like I should have went with everything. Or a loser bagel. Whatever. Herb and garlic would have been the way I should have went. And this is the lake. I forget the name of the lake. Elkview Lake. The lake was nice. There's all these cows above it. I thought it was kind of neat. Makes you feel like you're a cowboy. I thought it was interesting. The cows walked down here. I thought like they couldn't get up because of this cliff, but then it's like, no, cows are animals that know how to function in life, and they can walk down in the water. They can go up the hills. Like they're a pretty handy animal. But there's a lot of cows. Very Albertan of me. Some sort of farm equipment. I don't really know. Farm stuff. Well, that's offensive. This is the Old Man River. I camped here for a couple days. This is my draw for my previous lantern I gave away. If you're still watching this video, please like and subscribe. We'll give away another lantern soon. Miss Casual Viewer 1. She knows where Sasquatch lives. Speaking of Sasquatch. Old Man River. This is a deer that was in the wilderness park by the Old Man River. This is the Saskatchewan. Coleman, Alberta disc golf course. I got this. You have to go through a clean drain dry checkpoint when you come back into Alberta from Saskatchewan. And they basically ask you when the last time you have been in your boat, whatever. You have to go through a checkpoint. They make sure all your gear is dry and clean and take all the information down. This is to prevent spread of invasive fish species. I'm not really sure. And then they give you a free towel. And I was like, cool, free towel. And then I used it to dry my discs when I'm playing disc golf. I don't know why I took a picture of that sign. That is human poop on my tire. So now I'm back in BC. Yeah, whatever. There's human poop on my tire. There you go. There's a question for you. That guy might have been here. There's another question for you. I think the answer starts with an N, but I can't say it. This is the Kootenay River. Moments before I crashed my drone. This is probably moments before I crashed my drone as well. This is Vicky. Our microchip female neutered cat Vicky lives on Moan Road subdivision. Vicky is not lost. Vicky just hunts this far from home. If you take her to your home, she will beat up every other pet you own. Vicky is determined to use all her 9 lives. Vicky loves cuddles and she drools. Thank you for your kindness and concern. Next. Vicky is a bad motherfucker. That was just a sign that was on the rest stop. This is a pretty common rest stop. And I guess they've had a lot of issues of people taking her cat. But the cat just likes to roam. This is where I crashed my drone. My drone is in one of these 4 trees. And it is probably still there. And that is months ago. I was trying to fly nicely overlooking the river. And then I was like, oh, I think I'm probably getting close to this shore. And as I was thinking that, I slammed into a tree. The very top. It's probably 100 feet up. And pretty quickly I realized I was never getting it down. I threw a stone. Like, yeah, I'll hit it out. It's like you throw a stone like 25 feet in the air and you're like, no, I am not athletic enough to rescue this drone. So I had to give up. This is the source of the Columbia River. Pretty interesting little spot. Columbia River is like 2,000 kilometers long. And the source of the Columbia River is in Canal Flats, BC. It just bubbles out of the ground very humbly. And it's like a little trail, not a very popular spot. And it's kind of wild because it's like an amazing river system. And that's the source. And it's just kind of there, forgotten about, you know? Whatever. I don't know. I took photos of this. Yeah, I have no idea. I thought maybe we should get this for my mom for Christmas. She likes to cook. I do not like to cook, so I went to A&W. And I realized that, I don't know if it's a BC thing, but you have to pay 10 cents or 25 cents for a bag. So I was like, I'm not paying 25 cents. I'll carry this out with my hand. So I carried it out with a hand to this lake. This is Windermere Lake in Invermere. That's where the A&W was. Nice little spot. There's the Invermere Wi-Fi password. I uploaded a video there. Oh, this is where well, in case there's an address there. That's where I mailed Miss Casual Viewer the lantern. This is a water filler station. This is the stuff you don't think about when you do van lifing. But this is a water filling station. And it pumps like 500 mils of water into your jug. Or into a bottle. Because that's what normal people do. Fill up a portable water bottle. But I was filling up an 18-liter of jugs of water. So I pushed this thing 30 to 50 times. Pushed it in. Pumps out some water. And then you take it out. And then you push it in again. And it took absolutely forever. This is Radium overlook. So there's nice bluffs overlooking the water. Oh, there's maybe that's an eagle. I'm not sure. It's a bird. That doesn't look like an eagle at all. Oh, like a vulture. I don't know anything about birds. But yeah, nice little spot overlooking the Columbia River. Columbia River wetlands. This is, I think it's called Sinclair Canyon. This takes you through to Radium Hot Springs, which will probably be the next picture. Cool little spot in the cliffs. Radium Hot Springs was not the next picture. These are pictures from the Rockwall Trail, which is what I hiked on. This is somebody saying that I think they lost a key or something. There's another lost key. Did not phone that person. I did not find their key. This is Helmet Falls. I do have a good video on the Rockwall Trail, my experience on there. Pretty epic little place, to be honest with you. But this is the campsite. Very social campsite. I met a whole bunch of people here. It's pretty busy. And then, yeah, you're overlooking, where the falls overlooks you. There's, I don't know what they're protecting these from. If that's bears or if that's like porcupines that eat the outhouse, but covered in mesh. I think this is the hike up in the morning, the next day. And then you see the trail goes up and over into these mountains here. Yeah, again, the epic, epic trail. This is the rock wall itself. Yeah, you can see all up in the Alpine. I'm losing steam here, guys. Oh, you can see the trail marker in case it snows or whatever. Yeah. Well, yeah, this is the Rockwall Trail. I forget how long it is, but it's just a huge mountain of granite or whatever. Pretty cool. But yeah, the mountains look pretty epic. You're up in the yeah, it's just awesome. I met some European people on here. A guy named Atli from Iceland. He's my Instagram friend now. This is a picture. I think I got this picture taken by No Bear Spray Brad. He's the guy that I met on this trip that's doesn't believe in bear spray. Oh, there's a blister or whatever it is on my toe. Not that bad considering what other people get hiking, but anytime your feet are fucked up on a 50-kilometer hike is a bummer. There's a creek. Oh, this is the information I got from No Bear Spray Brad. Because I went underprepared. I knew where the map was, but I didn't have any of this elevation stuff. So I took a picture of his phone. Again, I'm an idiot. I like to be underprepared. Another selfie. I think this picture got with Judy and Karen took this photo of me. They're like, oh, you look really good. You should take a photo. And you know what? I did look really good. It's hard nips. It's chilly. She was chilly. You can see I got two shirts on. 2 long sleeve shirts on. Some glaciers. Yeah, just like, yeah, nice. And I think you'll see some of these pictures. Oh yeah, this was You hike up, and then you just all of a sudden you're hiking down, and you're going down, 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 all the way to camp. Oh, this is Atlee and Nina, Belgian Nina. She was in Scouts for 15 years. She insisted starting this fire, but that fire not started by me, although I did encourage it. I got yelled at by some lady for having an out of control fire, and it was such an the fire was so in control. I am still to this day mad at that lady for yelling at me. It was just so unnecessary. It bothers me. So this is earlier in the day, and this is later in the day. Coming up on the final day, the snow hit, and this is like the summit of Numa Pass, and it was like pretty touch and go. But it's the same lady that yelled at me for having a fire kind of warned everyone that there's going to be snow, but she did not warn me. Not that it would have mattered. But so a lot of people turned around, but we went up through the pass. And I'll be honest, up there by myself, it was like pretty sketch. But luckily I had footprints to follow. But it shows you, this is the last day of summer. But it just shows you how quickly things can turn around. But it was kind of cool, but also like I would have rather have not had snow. Because by the time I got down to Berg Lake, which is like the whole reason I went here was to go to Berg Lake. When I crashed my drone, I booked a campsite at Berg Lake because it was like, it wasn't available when I originally made my reservation, but it became available. And I was so excited to do it. And then I got here and I was like cold and wet. And I was like mentally kind of exhausted because of the snow. So I just took some photos. Nice photos. And, oh, another selfie. I love selfies. Then I stayed at this ranger hut, the patrol cabin, with, Atlee was one of these guys, and this is, I forget these guys' names. I follow this guy on Instagram, but there's a gay couple. Oh, what's his name? He was a French guy. He gave me a bunch of cheese. And his boyfriend's name was like Americano. And, what was the French guy's name? Whatever, it doesn't really matter. But anyways, we were all chilling on this patio for a while. And they're like, yeah, we're leaving. And then I was committed to staying, and then it's like, you know what? I'm leaving. So I just packed up, and I just peaced out. And I started hiking down this trail here, because it was like, it's like 12K or 15K or something like that to the parking lot. And I was like, yeah, you know what? I'm just going to the parking lot. I'm going to the hot springs. And then I hiked for about 2K. And then I was done. I was like, this was a terrible mistake. I was so cooked. And I was in the worst mood. But I had no choice at that point. I just had to keep going. And I hiked all the way to the end. And I swear to God, it took me 2 weeks to recover from that. Physically, but also mentally. I was just done. This is the getting back to Radium. This is the next day. The Radium Hot Springs pool. I soaked in there all day. Got a burger. And then I went to a car show. I did not go to a car show. I saw some bighorn sheep in downtown Radium. If you go to Radium, you will see bighorn sheep. They're all in town. Like, look at that. It's like right next to a hotel. And this is like the car show weekend. There's a huge car show, the Columbia Valley Car Show, which I'm going to again next year. That's the plan. It's a big weekend. There's tons of people around. And the bighorn sheep are just walking around park. Like, look how close those people are. For the record, I do not advise getting that close to a wild animal. But they're like totally fine. It's just like pretty normal. If they were concerned about people, they would not be this close to a hotel. That private parking. Yeah, they're just like hanging out. And this is the car show. You see there's quite a lot of people. Whatever, that's a boring... Well, not a boring. I don't want to be rude. Matching motorcycle trailer to your car. Camaro. So this is at a golf course. So I'm sitting here watching all these cars leave. And I got hit by a golf ball. Oh, I forgot. What am I doing? I don't remember how to do this. How do I go back? This is chai latte powder that I had. It is, I would describe as okay. I don't drink coffee or hot chocolate, so I wanted something warm, and I like chai latte, so I bought this powdered on Amazon, and it was okay, but not nearly as good as what you buy at a cafe. I took a picture of this at Invermere grocery store, so I thought it was wild that they sell pumpkin spice popcorn. That sounds terrible to me. Maybe it's not as bad as it sounds. Like maybe people like caramel corn, pumpkin spice, caramel corn. Maybe there's a parallel there. I did not try it. I thought it was crazy. I'm a white man, not a white chick. This is Invermere Lake. Again, like look at the mountains there. Pretty awesome spot. So many bottles saved at that stupid stupid water fountain. Wi-Fi password again. Some trail information. Undetonated explosives may be found in the area. This is the Stanley Glacier Trail. Oh, Junction 3 Coffee House. This is my favorite. My mom and dad's favorite coffee house in Soyuz. They go there every day. They go there 6.5 days a week, every day of the year. But I just seen this sticker on the. It's like I think it's a bridge over a creek on the Stanley Park Glacier. So I took that photo, probably to send to my mom, and then probably never did. Shout out to my mom. It's her birthday today. I will not tell you how old she is, because I don't know. This is the trail. You can see up to the glaciers. Man bun again. Yeah, this is up by the glacier. You can see, like, it's kind of interesting the way, like, the black is. I think the water, like, seeps out of the wall here. And then it's a waterfall. Late in the year, pretty dry, but I think this probably rages at some point. I'm not sure. I'm guessing. And then I think you can walk up to the water, or up to the glaciers. But I was cooked. This is 2 days after I had hiked up, or I was off the Rockwell Trail. I was trying to get my legs flowing again. But I was just, once I got to the viewpoint, that was it. I was not going to the glacier. This is me sitting in traffic. I think I was in Alberta. And I think I had just slept next to train tracks outside of Canmore. And this is the moment where I had, like, my mental breakdown started. Once I was in traffic, I was just ready to quit. Some fire. Yeah. There's a big gap of photos here because of how foul of a mood I was in. But yeah, after hiking this water, or up to this glacier, I would try to go to Banff to camp. The campsite was full. I had to move on, so I did. I kept driving to Canmore, and then I ended up sleeping right next to the train tracks. Had the worst night. I could not sleep because the train was so loud. Kept coming by. And then by the time I woke up in the morning, a Chinook had blown in. So we had these crazy winds that woke me up, along with the trains. And so I woke up in a bad mood. But I woke up in a bad mood. But my mood quickly got substantially worse when I hit the traffic. And then I ended up sitting in a parking lot for a while, waiting for the wind, because as I was driving, the wind was blowing my canoe. Like, it was sketchy. And so I just had to pull over. So I stopped at this parking lot. And I sat there for like 3 hours. And my mood went from, like, on a scale of 1 to 10. 10 being bad, I was at like a 7. No. On a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being bad, I was at like a 4.5. And then by the time I got done that parking lot, I was at an 8.5. I was in like such a foul mood. But eventually I had to move on. I went up to Banff, got a campsite. and I like spiraled out, and I was just in the biggest. I was just in the biggest mood. I was done. I wanted to go home. I missed everything. I was just done. But I think that all goes back to the Rockwall Trail because I was so physically tired after that one long day. It just by the time I recovered, it was after this. Like I was mentally so beat from that too. I think it all compounded there. And yeah, that sucked. But yeah, I went there, had a fire. This is my fire at Banff. And then I think this photo is I was trying to get a picture of the Northern Lights because I posted on Instagram about like how everything's not always as awesome as it looks. I'm in a fucking shit mood. Everything sucks and I hate myself. And then Smokey the Vandit, I think is what his name is. I follow him on Instagram. I seen his sticker inside a bathroom in Clinton, BC. So I followed him on Instagram. He's like, hey, I know you're in a bad mood because I just said it on Instagram. He's like, I think that you might be able to see the Northern Lights. So this is me trying to take a photo. So shout out to him for being positive in my time of immense negativity. I sort of maybe seen it. I can't remember that well, but these photos suck. This is breakfast in Banff. Banff is good at food. Not being like a wild outdoors place. Just go for food and light outdoorsiness. Walk to the Bow River Falls. This is me starting to change my mood around. This is the Bow River Falls. Same thing. This is the Bow River Bridge. And this is me canoeing on the Bow River. This is when I actually properly started to... I was like, okay, you know what? I kind of like Banff. I hated Banff. I was totally over it. And then I went here. I was like, oh, yeah, kind of... Okay, I was overreacting. This is a beaver dam that you have to climb up of to get up out of the river. But it's crazy if you look at the height difference. That's like 4 feet. So that's like the lake is 4 feet higher than this river because of this beaver dam. I thought that's pretty cool. I don't know where I took this photo. I'm surprised I didn't take any more photos, but I went up into the Vermillion Lakes. It was pretty windy, and I ate a really good sandwich out there. But when I came back over this beaver dam, a guy, and I assume his girlfriend, don't really know for sure, but they were out canoeing together. And then I pulled up behind them. But they were scared to get out of the canoe because there was a beaver in the water. And then eventually they got out, and then the beaver started moving around. They're like, ah! It was kind of funny, but I'm not like not scared of beavers, but it was funny that they were scared. This is an RV that got hit by a falling tree. This is the windstorm. It's like a 3-day windstorm, and this is the Lake Louise campsite. But this is a Dutch family, and actually it was like 2 couples sharing an RV, but they were from the Netherlands, and this is another funny memory of Canada, that their RV got hit by a falling tree in the wind. Well, there's quite a few fallen trees blocking my exit. Nothing too sketchy. This guy had a real close call. But I do think it's funny, like these rentals. Because even if a tree hits your rental RV, not that big of a deal. You just return it. Not your problem. But yeah, this guy I think he got really lucky, or he got hit and I didn't really notice. More fallen trees. There's like 3 exits to this campsite, and only one of them was free of debris. Well, this is I decided to head up to Jasper from there, and this would have been Bow Lake on the Parkway. Pretty windy. I wanted to canoe here, but it was pretty windy, and it was starting to snow. I think this is Peyto Lake. Yeah, this is Bow Lake. This is Peyto Lake. That's why it's got the crazy colors to the wicked viewpoint. Yeah, like look at that color. Pretty epic. This is a pretty popular area. I don't know what that is. Oh, I think it's from the Bow Lake Summit. Bow Lake Summit. That's that Columbia Glacier. I had to pee, so I pulled over in this parking lot. That's Columbia Glacier. I've been to Jasper twice in the past 2 years, and I have not gone to the glacier because I don't have any money to pay for a glacier tour. These are some of the pictures I took in Jasper. Jasper burned down. To start this trip, it all got changed, so then I kind of wanted to round it out by going to Jasper and checking it out for myself, and it was honestly a pretty emotional experience. And again, I was so tired, and then I had my little mental spiral out in Banff. And then from Banff, I went up to Jasper to go see it. So I was like emotionally weak already, and it was a trip. It was wild to see like the damage. It's like fresh off. This is less than 2 months from when it happened, and just like look at that. It's still there. It's fresh, right? That's somebody's house right there. That's still damaged. Obviously, there's an excavator here. They're starting to work on it, but this is still like very preliminary work. And it was a wild experience going to Jasper. And then those are somebody's front steps. The rest of their house is gone. Like, it's one thing to see the pictures on the news, but when you're there, you see it and you smell it and you feel it. You really do. It's different. These are what got me. This is like a little embroidered address sign. And then they have a picture of what their house used to look like. And that's what their house looks like now. And then this little thing says, "I can't see a way through," said the boy. "Can you see your next step?" "Yes. Just take that," said the horse. And then it's like I read that, looking at the house, and then I started to get hit with the feels right there. And I wasn't the only one, because I seen a lady looking at it, and she was literally, I seen her in tears. And then, it's pretty wild. This is another one. "What do we do when our heart hurts?" said the boy. "We wrap them with I'm gonna get emotional again. We wrap them with friendship, We wrap them with friendship, shared tears and time." I really do suck at reading out loud. "We wrap them up with friendship, share tears and time, till they wake up hopeful, whatever." I can't read. But yeah, it's wild. That literally their house is now just a set of front steps. Like, look at that. That's crazy. And this is like less than 2 months from when this fire started. They were probably living in a hotel somewhere, maybe somebody's trailer, maybe a cousin's house, something like that. I'm going the wrong way. They might never go back to Jasper. They might take some insurance money. Hopefully, get some insurance money. Take it. They might never go back. It could have been the house they grew up in. Like, who knows? It's when you see it, it was. Generally speaking, I'm not the most emotional guy. I'm a little sensitive. I cry during sad movies, but like generally speaking, I'm not wildly. I can ignore a lot of things, but it hit you in the feels, man. It was wild. I mean, look, that's somebody's baking stuff, teacups. It's a garden hoe or something. There's a church that was gone. I know this fed a lot of conspiracies because the grass is still there, but the church was gone. But generally, fire spreads by ashes through the sky, lands on the roof, burns it up. And then grass is like pretty wet because it's like naturally collects dew and it's pretty moist compared to like the dry building. And then there's some positive parts of Jasper, a nice butterfly mural. There's even more reasons to be positive. I thought this sign was funny. This is outside of the Legion. The year before, I met a girl in my campsite, and she took me to the Legion to party, and she's a musician, so she played like open mic night or whatever. And I was like thinking about going to the Legion, and I saw this sign, but I ended up not going to the Legion. I went for tacos instead. The guy that I think his name was Howell. He saw me as I was walking by looking at the sign, and he recruited me to come buy tacos. But they had just reopened. It was one of the first restaurants in town to reopen on a limited menu. So I was like, yeah, I'm going to go for tacos. Bought some tacos, $4 tacos. And there's a gas station. Pile of rubble. There you go, somebody's bike. Yeah. Somebody's truck. Lantern. I'm planning on going back to Jasper again. I got some things booked. I got, what do I have booked? I think I'm doing the Skyline Trail. I'm also going to Mount Robson again, which is just outside of it. And then I'm also planning on canoeing Vermillion Lake. I like to say Malgene, but I think it's Vermillion Lake. So I'll be up there. It'll be interesting to see the difference between these pictures and like I wonder if it's being rebuilt or if it's cleared or like what's going on. It'll just be interesting to see. Like, look at that. Sign melted. Picture in front of the rubble. This is I thought this wall looked cool. This is inside the Laundromat Cafe. And I got a chai latte from that cafe. And it was terrible. Maybe they make good coffee, but they did not make good chai lattes. Just another bike. And this is proof that not everything in Jasper burned down. It's Pyramid Lake. Yeah, quite nice. This is like 5 minutes out of town. Coming back to town, there's an elk. You see all the trees burned in the background. It's another elk. Maybe it's the same elk, I forget. There's quite a few elk. You can see all the burn up in the background. These trees are all red. The fire, you could see, when I drove up into town, the fire started at 36 kilometers. You can start to see the evidence of the fire damage outside of the town site. This is a huge fire. Yeah. If you're interested, I would watch that video. Awesome. But yeah, elk just chilling on the highway. Kind of proof that nature finds a way to continue. Like, it does. Who knows what happened to these elk, but they were out there. It's chilling in the grass. This is from Lake Annette, I think. But I went down there, and you could see, well, there'll be more pictures, but yeah, this is like a tree that burned entirely, including the roots. That's where the roots used to be. Totally burned. But then all this burn. And if you look at this compared to that fire that I walked through in Valemont, just the scale's way bigger. And the burnt is way more. It's way more thoroughly burnt. Like, I remember walking on this ground. It was just. Yeah, it felt so weird underfoot. It was the strangest feeling walking on it. And yeah, all the trees are all burned out. And I had walked through this the year before, and it was totally normal, nice looking forest by a lake. And then it was totally, that tree's burnt. It's like totally burnt, including the roots. Or it was uprooted, but just wild. It's just crazy to imagine the fire going through there. Cracking rocks. It burned all these trees. Yeah. Yeah, fire cracked rocks. Burn trees, burn trees. You can see the lake in the background. Uprooted tree. This is a sign telling you where to go. Yeah, oh, there you go. Edith Lake. Edith and Annette Lake. There's a toll booth. I did not have to pay the toll, but I did have a parks pass. But I don't know what they're gonna. They'll probably have little portable ones next year, but toll booth's totally toast. That's that a sign there. It's just crazy. This is as I was leaving. I went to Sunwapta Falls. And that was pretty much the end of Jasper. This is the drive home. And once I went to Jasper, I was mentally done with this trip. You can see the colors changing. Beautiful drive, to be honest with you. Highly recommend. I don't know where this is. Having breakfast, though. Looks some sort of eggs. Oh. Yeah, I don't remember this. Oh, this is in Golden. Yeah, I'm in Golden here. This is along the river in Golden, the Kicking Horse River. Kicking Horse River. There's a paraglider in Golden. This is where the Kicking Horse meets the Columbia River, I think. I like the confluence of rivers. Oh, that's another disc golf. Played a pretty good amount of disc golf. Yeah, this disc golf course, some guy passed me. I'm playing by myself, and this guy was playing, because I throw the ball or the disc all over the forest and have to look. Some guy passed me because he's playing with both hands, throwing one right-handed, throwing the other left-handed, playing 2 games by himself. He had to play through because he was playing faster than I could with one hand. There's a squirrel. This is coming down through towards Revelstoke. It snowed, so I was originally going to stop in Glacier National Park, but it was snowing. I'm like, I'm not doing it. So I kept going. I got a free shower here in Revelstoke. I shouldn't say that. Played disc golf in Revelstoke. These are the fanciest disc golf courses or signs I've seen on a disc golf course. But I played from the blue tees here. I don't really know why, because I'm not a good disc golfer. And, I was not good at this course. Actually, I learned here, this is Anheuser-Busch. I learned that Anheuser is a different way to hold the disc. I think you, lean it one way. Anyways. Shout out to Sarah Mitchell for teaching me that. This is Revelstoke. Oh, there's the, whatever. The gateway to Revelstoke. I do not like Revelstoke, though, because I got this ticket. I got a warning ticket for camping in a parking lot that had no warning signs. So I fled Revelstoke, but I took a picture of the sign first. Fun stuff. This is the ferry. So I fled town, and this is the ferry that takes you to Nakusp. There's a selfie. This made me think of my neighbor Will. His company, wherever he works, they put up the flyer, so I took this photo. I was going to send it to him. And then I told him about it, and he's like, oh, we don't do that ferry. This is Halfway Hot Springs. This is a pretty nice little spot, to be honest with you. Getting pretty popular, but I like it. It's my van again. This is in the cusp. There's a whole bunch of fallen trees. Patty Shack, highly recommend. I was talking about the Sugar Shack earlier. Patty Shack, better burgers. Potentially the best burger and fries I've had. I'm going to say ever. This is Slocan Lake, had a fire. Just made a video of that. This is the fire being put out. Or whatever. It was kind of out, but this is like the little remnants of it. Fire closed. Park's closed, but I went down there. I canoed this whole lake a few years ago. This whole lake. But today I just, this is where I camped. Campsite was closed, but I camped in it anyways. It was raining. I had this genius setup. And this is me canoeing. I want to see if there's a lot of fire damage or not, but it wasn't as bad as I had feared. But you can see just outside of the campsites. This is somebody's cabin that burned. That's their cabin. Like I said, I got a whole video on this, but no one's probably watching. This video is going to be 3 hours long. Beautiful lake, though. Slocan Lake's my favorite lake in BC. If you're going there, you might as well check out Sandon while you're there. The old ghost town. Pretty cool place, but I saw this fire lookout tower from the lake, and I was like, ooh, I might go there. That's a graffitied rock, if you call it that. It's my campsite. When I was after I canoed and I was in this campsite, that's when I realized I was totally done. I remember I was making dinner. And I was like stirring up my stuff. And I was like, I'm just so ready to go home. And my sister, I live in my sister's basement and we share a dog. And she wanted me to come home late enough that she could strategically avoid a social engagement with some of her friends. It was a concert in Seattle. And then, but they were like trying to find someone else to get the ticket. And then I was like, oh my God, I hope they sold that ticket. And then I texted, she's like, oh, they sold it, you can come home. I was like, thank God. Because I was so ready to go home. Emotionally, I was fried and I was just physically done. And I was ready to go home. And yeah, just stirring up dinner, I just knew it. I was ready. And I just drove home. I think that's Grand Forks. I saw a lot of deers. Is it deer or deers? Even in the face of great adversity, love prevails. This is Greenwood, one of my favorite little towns. I have a video on that. I feel like that's a good way to end this video, even though I'm going to keep going. But yeah, this is the Greenwood Tower. 130-year-old smelting tower. You can get right in there, allegedly. And Grub Hut, not a good burger, but it was a burger that I didn't have to cook, so that's a winner in my book. Some deer in Greenwood. Is it deer or deers? And then this is where that smelter tower, it goes down, and this is where all the slag, they come down in buckets from that tower. And you can get right on here, allegedly. That's my chai latte from the Deadwood Junction. A pretty cool little spot. There's the tower up there. Huge slag pile, though. And some of these buckets, they call them Hell's Bells. They're like 6 feet tall. And that's it all smashed up after. But yeah, these things are about 6 feet tall, the tall ones. And yeah, pretty wild. And then if you see the size of the slag pile compared to each bucket, you can just imagine how many buckets were coming down there. Bucket after bucket after bucket after bucket for years. There's a happy little bucket. There you go. I think this might be the end of it. Buck up or fuck off. There you go. Buck up or fuck off. I think this was at the rest stop, the Hope Slide rest stop, and that was the last photo I took of the trip until I got home. But the Hope Slide, it's a nice little cool spot. But I just went to the bathroom. It's funny I didn't take a photo of the Hope Slide at all. But like I said, I was ready to go home. And this is what I came back to. This is my yard. Totally overgrown. It was in rough shape, and that's what happens when you don't mow your lawn for 2 months. Like, look at those weeds. That weed is, whatever, probably 4 feet tall. It's funny looking back at my yard. I've fixed it up totally now. I mowed my lawn. All that stuff. I got rid of that ugly compost and that garbage can. And it's all the grass is regrown all pretty. But, yeah, that's what I came back to. Anyways, that's pretty much it. That's the end of the trip. 68 days. That's like 1,200 photos. I do not know that was interesting, fun, or anything. But that was 68 days. 3 provinces, like 6,000 kilometers. So yeah, that's it. It's the end of this episode. I'll probably be back with normal content soon. Peace.